enemy. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me, and he gets caught real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score, never getting bored. Loves the blood and gold, always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of hard in. If you start shit, you'll be hard-lived in the darkness, torn apart quick, you left scars ripped, you'll be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
dreams. I push your mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me.
me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Choke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact.
Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it.
Hello and welcome to my Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick, and getting my medicine ready. I'm just running a little late today. 15 minutes is okay. Just getting some medicine ready, and thought I had enough time to do this, but I didn't. I just wanted to get it done. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I took the weekend off from the show. I kind of, I was like a little, I feel more pain today than I did yesterday, even though yesterday my back was killing me. I saw the chiropractor today, so my neck and my back, my neck, my back, my neck and my back. Yeah, I should make a song out of it. But definitely it hurts like hell. It feels like something's coming for sure. I feel like snow is coming, but it feels like a mixture between snow and wet snow, because when my neck is this jacked up and hurting, that's usually like wet snow. It's not like full consistent snow, but we are supposed to get about 2 to 3 inches of snow tonight, actually tomorrow morning. It should be, actually, no, it starts tomorrow morning and it's going to be snowing throughout the day. And it should wrap up between 3-4 o'clock ish. And we're anticipating 2 to 3 inches, could jump to 5 if we get a little feeder band of moisture that comes through. We'll see. And we can even find out right now real quick with the news here in Connecticut. So let's check this out real fast.
We have a live look from our iCam in Waterbury. Certainly a quiet night ahead of tomorrow's first alert weather day.
Yeah, joining Yes, now Chief Meteorologist Mark Dixon with a check of that forecast. A little snow.
Yeah, some festive
Hey,
snow.
what's up, Chloe?
Yeah,
How
so on the
be?
topic of, say, a white
How you guys
Christmas, there's
doing?
actually a specific definition. So we need to have an inch or more of snow at 7 o'clock in the morning on December 5th, the 25th to qualify.
Is that specific?
It is, and it can be pre-existing. So what falls tomorrow, however, may not last until Thursday because temperatures are going to be warming up at, if not a little bit above average over the next couple of days. So tomorrow's first weather day for the snow. It begins around daybreak, wraps up by around 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. So a pretty big window of time, but the snow is going to be fairly light. So we're not expecting a whole lot of snow. Initially, snow for all of Connecticut. They're going to be watching this mix and rain line throughout southern Connecticut lift northward late afternoon through the evening hours. So impacts on travel, slick roads, untreated surfaces.
Like
so keep that in mind,
inches.
getting around Connecticut, getting to and from your vehicle tomorrow. So that's our next big thing. Light snow throughout the day tomorrow, our first alert weather day. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, close to average for this time of year, maybe a degree or two above, otherwise dry for Wednesday and Thursday. And then for the weekend, we're going to be watching Friday and then again Sunday for the chance for some more precipitation. So meanwhile, we're down to 28 in Salisbury, 35 Hartford, mid and upper 30s along the shoreline right now. A little bit of a breeze, but that wind is already diminishing, so not much of a wind chill to consider if you are heading out and about this evening. Westward, we've got some rain and snow showers to the eastern Great Lakes back through western parts of Pennsylvania. That eventually heads in our direction as we head toward daybreak tomorrow. A little bit closer look here at home on First Alert Futurecast. 7 o'clock in the morning, we've got the snow that's going to be working across Connecticut. Here's noon tomorrow, that pink mix line lifting northward as we head toward the evening commute time. Also notice how the precip begins to become more scattered in nature. It's all winding down. Here's 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow night, all done and over. Northwest, northeast Connecticut, up near the Mass border, 1 to 3 inches. The farther south you go along the shoreline, a coating to an inch. If that highs tomorrow, mid and upper 30s should do it for highs across Connecticut. On our First Alert 7-day forecast, mostly sunny, breezy on Wednesday, Christmas Eve, mostly cloudy, dry, Christmas Day for Thursday. Friday, a chance for some snow later in the day, mostly cloudy Saturday, then some rain and snow possible on Sunday. So certainly an active weather pattern. Temperatures briefly go 40, 45 on Sunday before dropping big time by Monday of next week with a breeze that will make that air feel even colder.
All right, Mark, thank you.
That is, I hope we have a white Christmas. I hope we are able to get an inch of snow. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I mean, it can. I mean, if we don't get that much snow, I mean, 2 to 3 inches is nothing. That can melt like tomorrow. It could easily melt tomorrow. So we may not have that white Christmas, but I'm still going to have some snow before Christmas, which still puts a smile on my face. So I'm happy. The only thing is that I can't do anything tomorrow because I wanted to go up and meet up with Terry and Caleb, but the weather's not possible. That's why this winter it's very hard to be planning out things, and the weather plays a big factor. And if I go up to that area is probably going to get about 3 inches easily up in the northwest part of Connecticut. So I don't think it's going to be a no-go, especially the way my neck feels. Oh my God, it feels like rain coming. That sucks, right? So let's continue on with the news. We still got some more to watch. So here we go. Let's move this along.
I truly agree with you. Satanism and cult services, sorcerers,
Jason
this
A.
is nonsense. That is something that confuses people, brings them to darkness, and affects them greatly. Affects their psyche, their morale, and we need to fight against it, but do it carefully without violating human rights. Your colleagues have mentioned it.
I really believe you can't be happy without religion, without that belief. I really believe it. I just don't see how you can be. So let's bring religion back. Let's bring God back into our lives. Thank you all very much.
The House Oversight Committee have released a new batch of photographs related to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. In one of the photographs, Epstein can be seen surrounded by 3 women who have their faces blacked out. Another photo shows him pictured with the philosopher Noam Chomsky on board a private plane. Another shows the Microsoft co-founder and billionaire Bill Gates posing with a woman whose face has also been redacted. And then you've got this, a screenshot which is of a text about the sending of girls. It includes the descriptions down the bottom and also a price. So joining us live now from the US, Republican strategist John Jordan. It's good to see you this morning, John. The photos, the girls, the messages, it's all pretty disturbing stuff here.
It is. It's very disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dirty birdies and a lot of dirty laundry is going to come out. Bill Gates.
Dirty birdies.
You know, you're seeing a lot of Democrat donors as well. You don't see a lot of Trump
favorite
stuff,
movie, Misery.
So that's going to be interesting to see what that looks like.
So this wasn't part of the Epstein files. What was it a result of, and why?
Okay, so I think what you have here is a lot of politicians on both sides and an American public, especially after COVID, which is highly skeptical of our quote unquote betters and the elites that were telling us all what to do. And, Bill Gates was kind of at the forefront of that. So you have a lot of people wondering, what are they, the elites, hiding in terms of bad behavior? And I think that's why there's this kind of populist push to kind of get to the bottom of it, and more than a few conspiracy theories.
So as you mentioned there, how damaging is this for Bill Gates and Noam Chomsky, to name a few? I mean, a photo with Epstein doesn't indicate wrongdoing on its own, but I suppose people will argue guilt by association here.
Yeah, so it doesn't do him any good. I think that's a very fair way you put that, right? It's not going to do you any favors, but it doesn't prove guilt either. It doesn't prove that, A, you knew anything bad was going on or participated in it. I mean, when Trump found out about it, he kicked him out of the country club in Florida and didn't associate with him again. If there was Trump bad doings here, you know, the media, the American media would have coughed that up, put that on the front page, but they didn't. But here you have some leading liberal lights, Bill Gates, who was a leading vaccine mask guy. We're all going to live in masks forever and ever during COVID. He's a loyal COVIDian. And Chomsky is a leading liberal figure too. But does it mean guilt? My hope is that this comes out, there's justice for the victims, the public is sated, and we can move on.
So what is next in all of this?
I tell you, I think this whole thing's going to die with a whimper rather than a bang. There's a lot of hype about this and the Epstein files and what's in there and who's in there. And of course, the American political context, the American media world is always going to be about Trump, whether he's involved or not. And I think when there's true proof that there's no there, certainly with Trump, and even with some of these other figures, where like Bill Gates and Chomsky and maybe Bill Clinton, and there just isn't anything there. I think this story will just evaporate.
Okay.
She has a podcast. It's popular. She says, I am biased. I acknowledge that. I will not platform a Zionist. That is something she has declared. She's been demonizing Zionists, and she has been marching at those protests alongside others who have been supporting extremists such as Hamas. Or now, all of a sudden, she's sickened by this tragedy. Let's just take a listen to her response.
As an Australian, as someone that lives in Bondi, first of all, our tragedy is not yours to politicise, particularly when your politicisation makes no sense.
Yeah, she went on a rant.
Our tragedy, all of a sudden. So what? All of a sudden, she's now an advocate for the Jewish. That is bizarre. That's strange.
It's really difficult to hear. She went on a rant for nearly 4 minutes talking about US politics and US gun laws. This is about the Jewish community and anti-Semitism, as we know, has just been allowed to fester here, and part of that is because these protests have been, going on week after week, chanting. Some people attending those protests have been chanting anti-Semitic things. River to the sea, globalise the Intifada. It's not just Abby Chatfield, though. There's Hannah Ferguson from Cheek Media. In the past, she's been a big supporter of Greta Thunberg and her publicity stunt going into Gaza. This Cheek Media post has also in the past accused Israel of abducting Greta Thunberg and others. It's just absolutely insane. Anyway, Cheek Media is now saying, in response to the terror attack, This week, far-right politicians will use this mass murder as a vehicle for their racist, anti-immigration policies. Parts of the media will decide the commercial value of clicks is worth more than the integrity of respectful
The commercial
and
value of
accurate reporting.
clicks. Okay. I mean, this is incredible. So basically, the problem, as this influencer, this crazy person is putting it, is the response, not the act. And what's the insinuation that if I talk about it, if I cover it, what I'm commercializing it, am I? Is that the suggestion? These people, they don't have 10 IQ points between them, and they have such a following. They're so influential with young women, particularly. I mean, we're going to have to. There's an entire generation which is listening.
I know.
To these people, and it's helping them form their views. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, and we've seen it for the last 2 years. I mean, it's been cool to be pro-Palestine. It's been really woke to be pro-Palestine and anti-Israel. I mean, it's been in our face. And meanwhile, synagogues have been burned. We've seen F the Jews, kill the Jews. We've spray painted on walls. Jews have been targeted, and so many people in the Jewish community I have spoken with are not surprised. And, you know, when you just look at the environment and some of these influences and what they have contributed over the last 2 years, this anti-Israel sentiment has not helped.
Yeah, and it's what they're choosing to call out as well. And that we all saw the footage right after October 7. There was a gathering, the hate preachers in Western Sydney making these points that it was a moment to be celebrated. And I really feel like the media, it's not, look, they're not law enforcement. They don't decide who goes to jail and who gets prosecuted. But the focus wasn't there. And so there's obviously a cohort of people that harbour these views. And the media, I think, failed.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Yoni Bashan had a great article as well in The Australian calling out many of the influencers. Plenty of people, by the way, who are happy to have pretty horrific images coming out of Gaza are also saying, oh, don't stop sharing images.
I wonder why.
From Bondi Beach. It's too horrific. And, you know, I think it's very sad. A lot of people were caught up in the social media trends, you know, trending being pro-Palestine. And
well, thank you for being a real journalist, going on the ground and talking to the actual victims and educating Australians about what's happened.
It's pretty weird. Thank you, Jason A. And we're going to continue on with another of Jason A. So keep it moving.
Appreciate his advice very seriously. We work closely with them. We receive regular update. The director warned about a range of threats, be it anti-Semitism, the rise of right-wing extremist groups, and we continue to work closely with our security agencies. We expect hundreds of thousands of firearms will be collected and destroyed through this scheme. Consistent with the approach that was taken in 1996, the government is proposing that states and territories will be responsible for payment to individuals. The Australian for the destruction of these firearms.
The New South Wales government, in the wake of Sunday's terror attack, Chris Minns said that he's considering removing recreational hunting as a legitimate reason for owning a firearm, as well as a range of other new gun reforms. And the Premier will also recall Parliament on Monday to pass a suite of protest restrictions. Let's just take a listen.
I have a responsibility to keep the community safe, to ensure that people can walk down the street without being in fear of being killed. And unfortunately, when you've got a terrible situation where people have been killed, mowed down in great number just because of their religious faith, I think it would be a horrible situation to see a mass demonstration. In my view, a mass demonstration on this scale would be so divisive for our community. It would light a fire that I think would be difficult to extinguish.
And will mark 1 week since the horrific terror attack at Bondi Beach.
Rise of Semitism vowing to crack down on hate speech.
Morning, guys. We are going to see likely some new restrictions both on hate speech and on demonstrations here in Australia in the wake of Sunday's attack that left 15 dead. Lawmakers here say they're going to outlaw the phrase globalize the intifada, which means for many trying to legitimize violent attacks against Jews They're trying to also outlaw the party as well.
We'll also make it very clear that horrific recent events have shown that the chant "Globalise the Intifada" is hate speech and it encourages violence in our community. The chant will be banned alongside other hateful comments and statements made in our community.
The government is also planning new restrictions on gun ownership. They're planning a massive voluntary buyback of hundreds of thousands of weapons to then melt them down, get them off the street. And finally, some good news out of all this. Ahmed al-Ahmed, the 43-year-old fruit seller who was seen briefly disarming one of the gunmen, he received a check in the hospital for about $1.65 million, more than $40,000. 40,000 different people contributed to that amount. Really inspired by his bravery during that time of crisis.
There's a petition circulating that tens of thousands of signatures of people calling for him to go. And around the world, Anthony Albanese and his government is an embarrassment. The US Director of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said that this attack should not come as a surprise to anyone. She says that this is the direct result of the massive influx of radicals. This is her message on X. The tragic Islamist terror attack against those at a Hanukkah celebration in Australia, sadly, should not come as a surprise to anyone. This is the direct result of the massive influx of Islamists to Australia. Their goal is not only the Islamisation of Australia, but the entire world, including the United States. Islamist and Islamism is the greatest threat to the freedom, security and prosperity of the United States and the entire world. It is probably too late for Europe and maybe Australia. It is not too late for the United States of America, but it soon will be. Thankfully, President Trump has prioritised securing our borders and deporting known and suspected terrorists and stopping mass unvetted migration that puts Americans at risk. And here is President Donald Trump in a short but clear message.
The love and prayers to our entire nation, to the people of Australia, and especially affected by the horrific and anti-Semitic terrorist attack, and that's exactly what it is, anti-Semitic. That took place on a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney. What a terrible, we don't learn. We're joined in mourning all of those who were praying for the swift recovery of the wounded. Some are very horrifically wounded, as you probably know. All nations must stand together against the evil forces of radical Islamic terrorism. Doing us tonight, our Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is doing a fantastic job. David Kutzoff, Claudia, Ronnie Jackson. He was my White House doctor. Ronnie was asked who is the healthiest of all.
Mia, what do you make of New South Wales Premier Chris Minns' response?
I like when he shows off. It's funny.
Well, I mean, he's starting to talk about protests. Now, these protests, 2 years, every single Sunday, we had protesters out there chanting extremely anti-Semitic things, calling for the incitement of violence, their leadership issue. I mean, where were we October 8 when we had those demonstrations outside the Opera House doing things like gas the Jews? Now we want to start talking about division in this community. I mean, make no mistake, this is Australia's 9/11. This is a day that we will never forget in Australia's history. It was an attack on every single Australian here. It was our 9/11, and we're focusing on things such as gun laws and protests. It just shows the government here has missed the point. In all levels of government, state and federal, they're not understanding the real problem at play here. So if we want to talk about protesting, that's all well and good, but we've almost missed that opportunity because it has been happening for 2 years. There has been abhorrent things being said in this community, and I think they've missed the point.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Over in the UK, Oxford University students and activists from the group Your Party staged a protest in the city centre on Sunday chanting "Long live the Intifada." This was held just hours after this deadly terrorist attack at Bondi Beach in Australia. Now, the rally was held in support of 8 hunger strikers linked to Palestine Action, an organisation that has been prescribed as a terrorist group.
Christmas
now,
comes by
2
so
of Britain's
fast.
biggest police forces say that
It'll
they
be
will now
here
be
in no
arresting
time,
protesters who chant
and we're
"Globalise the
waiting a
Intifada"
whole
following
year for
recent
another one.
terror attacks. The Metropolitan Police and Greater Manchester Police say that anyone using the
Every
slogan
day
could
is
face
Christmas,
prosecution,
Every
arguing
day
the
being alive
context has changed in the wake of
Christmas to me every
the
day.
Bondi attacks and growing concerns that it incites violence. Let's listen to this.
We know communities are concerned about placards and chants such as "Globalise the Intifada," and those using it at future protests or in a targeted way should expect the Met or Greater Manchester Police to take immediate action. Violence acts have taken place. The context has changed. Words have meanings. Words have consequences.
Yes, they do.
Mia, what do you make of this?
It's quite shocking to me to hear them say the context has changed. In what way has the context now
in
changed? I think their
Arkansas?
eyes have just been opened to the fact
that's so
that
cool.
for years, when we had
I've
Jewish
always
people
wanted to
around
go
the
do
world
that.
warning
That
our
and
leaders that this was coming,
searching for gold.
those warning signs
I always
were
wanted
ignored.
to,
And in every
search for
instance,
gold, but the
particularly here in
problem is I
Australia,
can't
when
bend
advice
over
was
and
given to those leaders, they were kind of
dig me
pushed to
into
the
the
side
dirt
because
and
it wasn't
stuff. It's
politically
killing my
relevant
neck.
or useful to
My
them
back is
in
killing
that
me already
moment. So
just thinking
to say
about
the
it.
context has now changed, I think, is extremely insulting to all the Jewish people who have sent out those
Ooh, I
warnings. But
wish you
it also
a
just to
lot of
show
luck.
that this
I
problem
want
of
you to get the
anti-Semitism,
biggest
it's not just a
diamond, the
problem here in
world's biggest
Australia,
diamond.
unfortunately. It is on the rise globally. And in the
That you
UK,
could
they've
retire and
really
not have to
they've had been
worry
dealing with this
about
problem now
bills.
for a while.
That'd
And
be
I
so
think it is
nice.
time for the left, quite
Can you
frankly,
imagine?
to wake up. For so long, they have been warning us about right-wing extremism and the problem
Did
with
anyone go
people on the
play the
right.
lottery?
And constantly the right have been held
I call
accountable
it the
for
lotto
extremist
trap.
groups.
It's a
But
trap.
where is the left? I think
The
it's
lotto
time for
trap.
the left to stand up and start calling out some of their own and saying, a lot of these, they've gone too far. And I think they've been going too far for a while now, but they need to stand up and own up to that. Now, when it comes to the UK police finally taking this seriously, I think it remains to see what they actually do, because we have a police force in the UK who has been more focused on arresting people in their own homes for tweets they've made, which I found at times, I think, relatively low in posing some kind of threat, but they've been more focused on policing people in their own homes when it comes, rather than stopping violence on the streets. So I'd like to see them actually crack down on that violence.
Wow. Okay, so let's bring it back to me. Yeah, who's ready to win all those $1 billion lottery Powerball? I think it's at 1.6, maybe probably a little bit more by now because of all the ticket sales that's happening. But it's pretty weird how they like to do this right before Christmas and before the New Year's, where the jackpot just grows. And now it's at 1.6, maybe 1.7, or maybe 1.8 by tonight. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. First thing, what I would do if I was to win, first thing I would do is call my attorney and say, "Hey, friend, how you doing?" He's gonna like, "Oh no, what?" It's like, "Nothing bad, but I'm putting your ass to work." He's like, "What?" It's like, "You work for me now." Yeah, I hire my attorney, and then I'll get an accountant, and then we'll start working out the all whatever we have to work out and put the money to work. Cause I ain't gonna not sit that money in the bank. Hell no. Gonna pump it into the market. Maybe buy some of that new Elon, which is SpaceX. I guess they're gonna be opening up a new in the stock market pretty soon. Can you imagine when you had that type of money, $1.6 billion? Yeah, instantly I would put half of that money right into the market and put it right into the SpaceX especially in the new IP they're gonna be coming out soon. I would just throw all like a good $500,000-600,000 right, like probably more than that. I'll probably put half a billion, 500, yeah, probably put like half a billion into the IP, and then I can make crazy amount of money if I did something like that. Can you imagine? That would be so fucking crazy. Oh, yes. Imagine I win. You know how many people will be here on my show? You know how many people will be on my show asking for money? They're going to be like, can I get some money? Can I get some? And it's like, I'm going to have to. I would definitely like my attorney. Like he's a great attorney, but he's down in South Florida, so it doesn't matter. He'll come to me, and he's come to me before. And let's see, yeah, invest. You know, if you invest half of that money and have that money work for you, and the other, you're not gonna spend like 500, like $500 million. You're just not gonna spend that. Like that 500 million I put in that fucking market and the IP, oof, and put 500 million in there and forget about it. Forget about it for like 10 years, maybe 20 years, and then cash out on it. You imagine the, oh my god, Elon will probably be a friend of mine. And I'm like, I still think you're a weirdo no matter what. But thank you for making me ultra rich. I'll be blessing people on YouTube. Okay, you've been blessed. Look at that. Even like you've been blessed. That was the close up right there. You've been blessed. And Chloe, I hope you find a good diamond girl. Diamond girl, yes. Ooh, oh, diamond girl. Oh, yes. You better get that diamond girl. I want to see that diamond girl. Hell yeah. I don't ever play the lotto, but thought about buying 5 tickets for tonight. You should. I would tell no more. Yeah. I would just like Chloe, just go get them. With the Powerball, if you want to put it with a double play, because there's a new double play thing they're doing, so it's like it's $4 a ticket. So, but you don't have to play the double play. You could play just with the power play. So that's $3 a ticket. So if you're gonna buy 5 tickets at $3 a piece, um, you could get what, $15. But if you do with the double play, which I kind of suggest you do, because it's like $4 a ticket, so it's $20. Just go and play $20 and get 5 tickets, and you never know. Shit, you don't have to win the lottery. You could just get 5 numbers and you win about $1 million. And if you play the power play, guess what? That 1 million turns into 2 million. What's better than 1 million? 2 million. Oh my goodness. And trust me, that does make dreams come true. You know, dreams can come true. Yeah. So I think a little investment, you know, a couple of dollars just to, you know, you never know. You might hit and you're like, holy. You, and I'll be the first to say, I know a billionaire. It's a subscriber of mine. It's like a billionaire that could take advice from me, and I could be their personal psychic, and they can hire me. They're like, look, I could guide you. I could lead you to the way, but I can't force you to drink the water. I can only tell you how to. That's it. So with that said, let's see what else we got here. Let's close this window and let's tap in to see what Sky News have to say for tonight.
The US Coast Guard is pursuing another oil tanker in international water near Venezuela after seizing two other vessels in the last fortnight. It is a significant escalation in Donald Trump's efforts to put pressure on the Venezuelan government, which he accuses of using oil money to fund drug-related crime.
Pre-dawn in the waters off Barbados, and a US helicopter descends.
We're getting another
This was
one.
the second seizure of a tanker carrying Venezuelan
So
oil.
that's a second, but
In
they're
the same
pursuing a
weekend,
third one.
US officials said they'd intercepted a third. President Trump had promised a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers, and this is what it looks like on the high seas, even if the second ship seized wasn't on the sanctioned list.
There is precedence in seizing illegal oil shipments. That's been done with Iran. These ships are in violation of U.S. sanctions on Venezuelan oil. But in this case, unlike the previous case, the ship itself was not under U.S. sanctions. So we're slightly under a little bit more gray area right here on the legality of it.
This had been billed as a war on drugs. The US has killed more than 100 people in airstrikes on boats it says were transporting narcotics. But now it sounds like it's really a war for oil.
They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
That's what it is for the oil rights.
The US president wants it
It's
back,
always a
and
bit
there's
of
rather
oil.
a lot of it. This shows the proven oil reserves for the US and
not
Saudi Arabia in millions
Venezuela.
of barrels.
It's
Compared to
Guyana.
Venezuela,
It's
it
the
has
neighbors.
the largest oil reserves in the world.
They want the neighbors. They
Combination
don't
of
want
US
Venezuela
hostility,
oil. They
economic
want the neighbors,
mismanagement means
Guyana.
it's not exploiting it. You can see total production falling over the years in terms of thousands of barrels per day. It is streets behind Saudi Arabia and the US on that front. And that means, along with US sanctions, that Venezuela is not able to export nearly as much. You can see it falling again behind over the years. And that all means that the revenues from oil exports for Venezuela are pretty small, estimated this year around $12.5 billion. But this is a huge chunk of Venezuela's total official GDP for 2025, around $83 billion. President Trump's announced that blockade of sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela, and that blockade looks like it's being interpreted pretty broadly. So this could be crippling for the Venezuelan economy.
Venezuela's going to
And a bonus for the American one.
doing something horrible.
Data from marine traffic shows that the first Venezuelan tanker seized is now moored just off Houston, Texas, the oil capital of the US.
Wow.
Whatever
we're
the
the
means,
pirates
whatever
now?
the motivation, regime change
We're the Pirates
appears
of the
to be
Caribbean?
the goal. The US has assembled what it describes as an armada, including the largest aircraft carrier in the world, the USS Gerald R. Ford.
Ooh,
Venezuela has
described
described the oil tanker seizures as piracy and vowed to retaliate. As the Trump administration methodically increases the pressure, that may well be part of the plan. Tom Cheshire, Sky News.
Wow. That's a pretty big escalation. All right, let's keep it moving.
A major blackout unexpectedly hit San Francisco, United States, causing chaos and disturbances on the roads.
That's crazy. No wonder
Driverless
none of my
robot
San
taxi
Francisco people watching me.
suddenly came to a halt. Han Yo-hye.
On the road plunged into darkness,
this.
several vehicles stood motionless. Following cars were honking and swerving around them, but the
This is the
driver's seats of the stopped
problem.
vehicles were empty.
He's stuck. Poor guy.
That is
A massive
problem.
blackout
Look,
struck
the
San
lights.
Francisco from a substation fire, and with traffic lights out, Google's self-driving taxi, Waymo, stopped.
You see, that's garbage.
There's
You
like
can't
a
trust
massive traffic jam.
Despite concerns about self-driving technology, Waymo appeared to be establishing itself by offering driverless ride-hailing
That must hit their
services,
stock today.
but then faced an unexpected roadblock. Critics say this revealed the limits of unmanned self-driving technology.
Yep.
Waymo stated that they will do their best to ensure the technology can adjust to the flow of traffic in such situations.
Huh.
During the
That's
blackout,
not gonna be easy.
Tesla's autonomous robot taxis with a safety driver kept running, and CEO Elon Musk said it proved their reliability. MBN News, Han Yo-hye.
Yeah, I mean, if these vehicles could be programmed in a ways to um follow the flow of traffic, follow the flow of like a human. How we know when the lights are out, it at the corner, it turns into a four-way stop. So it's no different than a four-way stop sign. You go up, and whoever's there first goes first, and then second, third, fourth, however you guys you decide it mentally, and upon you feel the traffic, you feel the energy. That's how I drive, because we have a lot of four-way stops up here, and three-way stops, and crazy weird like scenario stops, and everyone needs to be on the same page. But you also need to be cautious too, because you don't know who the hell is driving on that car. You got to trust that they're making proper decisions, which is the scary shit here in Connecticut for sure. All right, let's keep it moving. We got some more news to watch, so let's get right to it.
We turn now to a News 12 exclusive. The survivor of a brutal stabbing is speaking out after her accused attacker is released without bail. News 12's Marissa Santorelli joining us here in studio. Marissa, this is a really troubling story and easy to understand why she'd be scared.
Absolutely, Amanda. I spoke with that survivor, Caitlin Berman, the survivor of that brutal stabbing that happened back in March. On December 10th, her accused attacker was released, walking free until his next court appearance. Caitlin says she now fears for her life. Now, we do want to warn our viewers at home, some of the images you're about to see may be disturbing.
Well, I hope you blur it out. I don't want to see all of it.
Left to die. That's how Caitlin Berman remembers Saturday, March 22nd.
I did think I was going to die in there.
She recalls cat sitting for a longtime friend that day at her Williamsbridge apartment. Her friend's partner, Christopher Joseph, came to pick it up, but immediately she says something was off.
When he first came into my apartment, he asked me if he could talk to me and put my daughter in the room. He said to me that his child's mother gave him permission to have intercourse with me, and I had told him no.
She says Joseph seemingly acted normal after the strange interaction, but wouldn't leave.
He did ask me what was the most traumatizing thing that ever happened to me, and then he had asked me for juice. I turned around to get juice, and that's where he started attacking me.
Stabbed multiple times in her face, neck, back, and hands, while her 3-year-old daughter slept in the next room.
I was able to break the first knife that he brought with him, and then he winded up taking one of my own kitchen knives.
How many times did he stab you?
Approximately 22 times.
Caitlin says she told her attacker to take whatever he wanted, begging him to leave.
He shouted to me that it wasn't about the money, and then he kind of just kicked me in the back of the head and walked out the front door, taking my cell phone and money, so I couldn't call for help.
Her neighbors, hearing her screams, called 911. Police tell us Joseph was arrested on March 23rd. Caitlin spent 48 days in Jacobi Hospital, undergoing surgery after surgery. How did you survive this?
My daughter probably gave me the motive to just stay there.
A 7-page indictment from the district attorney's office shows Joseph is charged with attempted murder, attempted assault, and criminal possession of a weapons charges, and more.
Not to say that it felt good, but it felt good to know that he was in jail. Now, the last court date went a lot different.
On December 10th, Judge Darlene Goldberg released Joseph on his own recognizance without bail. The DA tells us they wanted bail set at $1 million. They were overruled.
I kind of froze. I was like, that doesn't make sense. There's no way that you just almost killed me and only did 9 months.
Caitlin says she doesn't just fear for her life, but for her daughters. What sentence would satisfy you, do you think?
Life. If not 25.
Joseph is due back in court on January 16th, facing 13 criminal charges and up to 25 years in prison.
Oh my God, that is so crazy. Oh, no. Let's keep it moving. For the sound on this one.
Screaming meltdown as she is resigning. This speech there is making headlines. She herself has been accused of meddling with crime statistics to try and lower crimes in the nation's capital.
So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters. F you. Because the man said there's greater things and start for Pamela A. Smith.
You're screaming. You need to go straight to jail.
All right. Well, she's on her way out the door. Pleased to bring in Mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Glenn
Screaming.
Jacobs, of
That
course.
microphone, can I handle that?
Previously
Oh,
known
look, Kane.
as Kane, the WWE Hall of Famer. Sir,
Oh,
welcome in.
Kane.
I'm
Yo,
always
Terry.
glad to see
Alfie,
you,
look,
and
it's
I'm always
Kane.
interested in your opinion because you have a leader here.
I want
Obviously,
to hear
she's
his
on her
song.
way out. We talk about law and order. We talk about Tennessee and parts of Tennessee that needed some attention. You know, she's saying that the Bible allows her to say that to her haters. What do you make of what's going on there and how people are cheering for that, even in this season?
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily biblical by any stretch of the imagination. And when we look at crime statistics, one thing that we have to keep in mind is they are manipulated across the country. Everyone talks about the FBI's violent crime database. Well, the problem is that many of the big cities, the blue cities, actually don't report violent crime. So it gives us a very skewed picture of what crime looks like across the country. It actually looks lower in Los Angeles, New York, other places than it actually is. So that is, she's right about, they're right about manipulating, but apparently it happens in other places as well. So many times we blame things, say, on the state government or especially the federal government, and it's really local government that is at fault. And we can certainly see that here. I think the thing that if I were her, I would be more concerned about is the fact that Donald Trump ended up having to send the National Guard into Washington, D.C. because of their crime rates, as opposed to the same old political stuff they're trying to get me and force me out of office.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm glad you mentioned the president because I want to get your take. There's been a lot of news about wrestling legend Mick Foley says, I'm going to part with WWE over Trump ties. And he's citing comments that President Trump made about Rob Reiner as the final straw. I know Foley's a longtime friend of yours. What is your take or your reaction to this and where he falls?
Well, certainly it's no surprise. I know where Mick is at politically, and we've had our discussions about politics. We've always been able to keep them civil, and I wish that could happen more on the public platforms altogether. One thing is we live in a country where we are free to disagree about things, and I think Mick is wrong, but nevertheless, he's entitled to his opinion. I will defend his right to say that, even if I do think he's wrong, and that's the beauty of America. I wish that would kind of be all over the place as opposed to just in wrestling, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much happening this holiday season. We talk about the left's war on Christmas. It seems like it doesn't stop at Christmas, right? But there have been some notable stories, Mayor. Massachusetts had the nativity scene that, has no Jesus, just a sign saying ICE was here. And now we have in South Carolina, mayor's nativity takedown fails because the mayor wanted the removal of it from a public marketplace lot, and they said no, it's going to stay. When you look at the climate and what people are trying to get, and you say it all starts locally, and we have to be able to love our neighbors too.
Sure, and also we need to respect our neighbors' opinions when they're Christians. We have this thing in our country called freedom of religion. And what has happened is militant atheists basically push their own religion, which is there is no God, there is no higher power.
Yeah, Mick Foley
the rest of us by saying you cannot have any religious
he doesn't like
expression
Trump.
anywhere. No, that's not at all the case. The First Amendment prohibits Congress basically from establishing a state church, but it doesn't say anything about religious expression. And I actually think those should be encouraged as much as possible.
They're trying to take away
well, I also
the baby
want to
Jesus.
call into our interview something we spoke about before, but it's such an important cause. You are a champion for Operation Heroes Hill. This is to end veterans' homelessness, which is something we hope no veteran has to deal with. We want people to be able to help. We know they want to. Tell us, Mayor, where they can go to get involved.
Sure. In case you missed it, Operation Heroes Hill will create a community of 20 tiny homes and a community center for our veterans in Knox County and the surrounding areas who are having a hard time.
I'm happy that the military got
go to Operation Heroes Hill.
$1,770.
Find out more about the project and help if you're able, please.
As a bonus, celebrate the 250th year of the military here in the United States and the 250th year of the Constitution, pretty much 1776, and that's what they got As a bonus this year for the military, all servicemen, active and reserves, are getting that nice check from the government. And congratulations to them because they deserve it. Every penny of it. And they got a raise too. So that's even better. That's even better. And if I win the lottery, that would even be even better. Because the ones that are here watching with me, I'll make sure to take care of you guys. You better hope that I win this lottery because I swear we will live in a village. We will all live in a village and we will all have our own cows, goats, sheeps. Oh, and I'm going to build an ark so we can all be in peace. Yeah, that'd be awesome, right? I would do a village. I would do like everyone has their plot of land and with their space, because that's one thing I like is space. But we are a community and we live in a little cul-de-sac. We live in a cul-de-sac. That'd be awesome. It will be our own compound. It'll be our compound. Not a religious compound. I mean, we could have a little church service. That's okay. But I always had like that vision of having like a nice community, and then like twice a week or maybe 3 times a week, we get together and we have a meal. You know, and I think that'll be like good energy for the community. That'd be great energy and helping one another and just I see like this like have you ever seen the movie Big Fish? Right? Remember when he gets lost in the swamps and the woods and stuff and then he reaches like he gets to Pleasantville and it's like everything's just like a village like that and the boonies but beautiful lights that are crossing like that and it's like a small little town, a cute little town. I would like to do something like that. That would be so freaking cool. I would love that. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's see what else we got more to watch. So stand by. Both of these here are Connecticut news. And I think one is from Boston and one is from Connecticut. And then got a couple of more stuff to watch. So let's go ahead and let me get this set up here. I hope everyone's having a good night. I hope you guys are having a good start to the beautiful holiday season that's upon us. We're here. We made it to the most beautiful week of pretty much of the year, and that is it's a blessing to reach milestones, right? And we've reached our milestone of celebrating, hopefully within the next 3 days, Christmas for the 2025 season, pretty much the year. I always feel like it is an accomplishment, especially New Year's, because I feel like Christmas is okay, is cool, but I feel like I look like forward more to New Year's because it's like an accomplishment. Like we did it, we all did it together. We're celebrating together, and there's a lot of people that are not gonna make it to the new year. I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to make it to the new year. But it's a good accomplishment and it should be celebrated. That's why New Year's is so special, is because it's an accomplishment of you completing a calendar year, you know? And we know the calendar's off anyways. 289, nice. I gotta check. It was 269 but I think it might be going lower. I have to check. I have to go and check out the gas station and see. Okay, let's check out this. Let's check this out. Liberal Hive Mind.
Guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. I'm so done with this woke nonsense. Every single freaking time we point the finger at a very important issue, an obvious problem, we can never actually do anything about it. We can never even have a conversation. Because anytime you open your mouth, in come the race hustlers, pointing the finger and claiming that you're a racist. It just makes it impossible to have a conversation. And obviously the tactic is to shut conversation down by weaponizing issues of race. And that's exactly what we're seeing in Minnesota right now. That's the whole game. You could have billions of taxpayer dollars disappearing into blatant scam black holes. But of course, in this instance, the thieves are of Somali descent. And you know exactly what that means in 2025, right? If you say it out loud, well, then you become the problem. This is the culture that the left has cultivated, and as we see, it's opened up a massive door, a massive avenue for committing crimes with near impunity. And it makes sense why, right? If your identity or skin color can be used as the ultimate shield from your behavior, well, then you could pretty much do anything. This is the environment that Democrats have created, and we're actually now learning just how much this culture is to blame for the mass fraud we saw in Minnesota. We've got yet again another absolute shocking, damning bombshell here. As it turns out, the left-wing media in Minnesota was actually this fraud that was because, quote, they didn't want to appear racist. This backwards culture that the left has created is causing so much damage, folks. Let me show you guys this wild story. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here's the headline from the New York Post. It reads, Feds say that Minnesota fraud scandal could amount to $9 billion as critics blame local media's weak coverage on fears of, quote, seeming racist. Minnesota's sprawling fraud crisis has garnered national headlines in recent weeks, but several critics say the problem festered for years, aided by local media that appeared uninterested in holding people in power accountable. Quote, in newsrooms, they're told, we can't run that because we're going to be accused of being racist. Town hall columnist Dustin Grage recently told Fox News Digital about news outlets in Minnesota essentially enabled fraud by not calling out shocking taxpayer waste occurring primarily within the local Somali community. The outlet that is considered by many the top news source in the region, the Minnesota Star Tribune, has faced criticism on social media in recent days over some of its headline, including, quote, Minnesota Somali community grapples with fraud cases while passed stereotypes on November 26th, as well as, quote, Trump claims Minnesota lost billions to fraud. The evidence to date isn't even close on December 11th. This is what woke grievance culture has created. You've got real harm, real theft, real victims, and the people whose job it is focused on not offending people. If someone brings up Somali fraud, it's immediately framed as an attack on, quote, the Somali community. But is it really an attack, or is it a valid observation? You know, any criticism, any mention of patterns, any question about why so many of these scams seem so highly localized and focused in these particular community is automatically deemed racist. It's always the same deflection, always the same distraction. And that's exactly what it is, right? It's race being used as a shield for corruption. It's called to deflect the outrage. You shouldn't be pissed off at massive welfare scams. No, Tim Walz wants you pissed off at Donald Trump for cutting off public funds to Minnesota.
Every night I get an update on this of the threats to our federal money on everything we do in Minnesota.
Ilhan Omar doesn't want you outraged over federal dollars being stolen by the Somali community. No, she wants you outraged at the idea of Islamophobia.
It is really shocking, and it should be a wake-up call for all Americans to say this is not our ideals, our values, and we should all collectively be out in the streets rejecting what is taking place.
It's the same trick every single time, whether it's Islamophobia, racism, or anti-Semitism. These are ridiculous labels that are essentially used as political weapons to shut people up. The second you question mass migration or mass migration from the Islamic world, if you talk about Sharia influence, the clear threat of terrorism, not to mention the scams or the lack of assimilation, then suddenly you're the problem. The problem is Islamophobia. I don't know, folks, but something just doesn't sit right with me when race, religion, identity are essentially being used as get-out-of-jail-free cards. Well, you're basically sending the message that if you are part of a certain, what we view as a marginalized group, well, then you can steal, you can commit crime with impunity. The local media won't even touch you. They won't even dare go near that story because they're petrified at the idea that they be labeled a racist. And so they look away. And I know the left loves to frame this as compassion, which just so woke. There's probably some DEI folks. It's a pathetic act of surrender. And obviously this woke racial grievance culture that the left has created, well, it's getting in the way of honest oversight. It's crippling our ability to have honest conversations and tackle important issues. And obviously it has to stop. You cannot maintain a functional society if entire topics, and really important topics at that, like the theft of billions of dollars from taxpayers, is all of a sudden off limit because of racism or false accusations of racism. 4 frickin' years, folks. Actually, probably closer to 5. 5 years of massive fraud, and that's just what we know. That's just what's going on in Minnesota. That doesn't even get into the NGO scams and whatever's going on in California, which is probably 10 times worse. But in this case, in Minnesota, 4 years of robbing the taxpayers blind, and all of it could have been avoided if only one person had the balls to say the truth despite the Democrat backlash. It's an obvious double standard. I mean, just think about it. If a bunch of white suburban nonprofits stole $9 billion, no journalist in their right mind would skip over that story. No politician in their right mind would allow that to continue. But in this case, they did, because a different standard applies here, right? Well, how about a new standard? How about no more special rules just because someone or a particular community ticks a demographic box? This is the mess that Democrats have built. They've enabled the race grifters and the victimhood peddlers. They've spent the better part of 2 decades creating this culture where feelings matter more than facts, where personal accountability is deemed racist, where even the most simple and basic level of scrutiny targeting anybody of a protected color or protected group is automatically oppression. This is what happens when your entire political culture is about representation and feel-good vibes instead of standards and outcomes. You get local media outlets that are more worried about not having to face left-wing mob activism than billions in stolen tax dollars. You get mayors, governors, politicians, attorney generals who look the other way rather than do what's right. This pathetic, weak reflex where the first priority is always how it will sound, how it will make particular people feel, above just telling the truth and covering the facts. That's the frickin' problem. I don't care about your feelings. I care about what's right. I care about the facts and the data. And obviously that's the biggest issue here, right? The data proves us right on so many issues, and many issues of race as well, many issues of culture and religion, but the left just doesn't want to have that conversation. And so instead they play these pathetic, censorious games. Once again, the left-wing mainstream media has failed. And not just a little oopsies, not just, oh, we made a mistake, let's issue a correction. No, they've enabled systemic fraud and abuse. By their lack of reporting, they've opened up the door to billions of dollars in fraud. I guess the general point to conclude on, once again, more proof as to how much damage left-wing culture is creating. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right. So, that's just a crazy story, right? In general, because like, first of all, I feel like a lot of people should be going back to their countries. And I feel like if we could get them back to their country, and I think that will help America even progress even better. And we'll have more money for us here, because we need to stop giving our money, our hard-earned money, to these immigrants that are just coming in here and then they're eating on our dime. Like, they putting on videos on TikTok and YouTube showing off, oh, I'm eating 5 meals a day. Thank you so very much. I don't have to work. You work for me. You work 50 hours a week for me. I don't work. I eat all day and I do nothing all day. And I have a nice, beautiful place to live. They pay all his bills because all the money that he gets through the EBT system, you know, because they give you food money and they give you cash money, and they give him thousands of dollars every month. It's like, no, are you crazy? They don't do that shit for us, and we live here. Are you kidding me? Imagine if all of us was to get thousands of dollars every month, and we could actually feed and live and not have to worry so much. Yeah, it feels great, right? But the immigrants are the ones that are reaping the benefits, and us, we're getting nothing but pigeon food. Like, here's some crumbs. Are you kidding me? Oh boy, I don't know. It just really, I don't know. It makes me mad. It must make you mad, because like I feel like we live in a broken system, and there's never is what's when this things are gonna get fixed. When are we gonna get rid of these people that are in our country illegally? We know, we saw the videos. We saw the videos of the motherfuckers coming through the border and rushing in every day for 4 years. And the border patrol is like they're questioning what they were doing, because like our job is to protect the border, and yet the Biden administration is pretty much castrating us to like nothing, like don't do anything, let them in. Like, ain't that sabotage? I mean, that has to be sabotage. All right. I mean, and you see, the powerful and the elite never gets in trouble. They don't get in trouble. You think Biden is going to get in trouble for the border? Hillary Clinton. The Hillary Clinton is with the pinky. That's all they get. They don't get punished. They don't go to jail. They reach a level that the law doesn't abide by. Like it's not for them. You know, everybody else, yeah, you got to follow the law, but for the people on the top, no. I wonder why. I truly wonder why. All right, let's keep it going, because things are a little strange. And this next story, I guess, is part of some kind of Stranger Things. Something happened. I don't know. Let's find out. Set this up and let's watch.
Happened overnight at a popular site for fans of the hit show Stranger Things. Fox 5's Kevin Stewart is live in DeKalb County to explain. What have you found out, Kevin?
Well, according to police, this young woman and her friends were just exploring this building back here, and she fell. And the truth is, this building is cordoned off and has been abandoned for some time.
Oh my God.
To fans of the hit show Stranger Things, this vacant Emory University property is Hawkins Lab. These Florida tourists, like so many others, couldn't miss the chance to check it out.
We heard they're going to be demolishing it.
But they had no idea. This is where 19-year-old Leah Pomerado fell to her death early Friday morning.
Oh my God.
Well, that's crazy. Even worse. That's, wow.
That's some strange things.
According to authorities, Pomerado fell to her death from atop this building, a popular spot not only for fans of Stranger Things, but for photographers, so-called urban explorers to shoot images of dystopian-like ruins. There is so much to learn about how and why this happened.
We're happy just staying right here and looking at it from afar. I don't need to get any closer.
This building has had many uses over the years, a mental health facility. Emory has used it for various academic purposes like paralegal classes and more since acquiring it in 1998. But it's been vacant since 2024. The plan is for a private firm to develop and operate a senior living community. Was there security here overnight? It's unclear, but in a statement,
probably not.
The university says while there are no trespassing signs, Emory is enhancing security at the site.
Something
yeah, they don't have
come
security
to do
there.
To kind of have like a fun, and it turns into a tragedy. That's just awful. If someone wants
Damn,
in, they're gonna get in no
from
matter
Stranger
what.
Things.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunate indeed. This is a massive property, 42 acres, and is in the midst of being torn down. We're live in DeKalb County. Kevin Stewart, Fox 5 News.
All right, Kevin, real sad that she lost her life. Thanks so much for the latest.
That's just weird because, like, Stranger Things is already at this final season. It finishes, I think it's on the 31st, the new episode comes out. I haven't seen Stranger Things yet because I don't like to wait until to finish off a series. I like to watch it and binge watch it and just watch a whole bunch of Stranger Things, not just like wait, watch 3 episodes and then you gotta wait like a whole, certain amount of time and then they watch the final whatever episodes. I'm like, no, man, don't do that to me. I'll wait. I won't watch it, and then now that I know the final episodes are going to be coming out, then I'll watch the ones that I missed from this season, and then I'll watch the ending. I mean, I saw they were advertising for Stranger Things to go watch at the movie theater, and I was like, would I want to sit there with all these people watching Stranger Things? Nah, I'm good. I'll watch that bitch in my house. All right, guys. Let's see what else we got here. That was just worse. Oh, here's the Connecticut. This is I think this is a Massachusetts one, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just find out together.
Tonight, the Trump administration has put a halt on all offshore wind leases. The Department of the Interior is citing national security risks identified by the Pentagon, like radar interference. The feds say the pause will give them a little bit of time to address the issues with stakeholders. Now, locally, that is impacting the Vineyard and Revolution wind projects off the Massachusetts and Rhode Island coastline. New at 6, we spoke to New Bedford's mayor, who says the Trump administration's decision will mean a significant economic hit for his city.
It has thrown off Vineyard Wind employees and contractors out of work on our waterfront 3 days before Christmas.
Mayor John Mitchell oversees the port of New Bedford. It's the largest commercial fishing port in the U.S. While offshore wind is not the largest economic driver, it's employing locals to deliver supplies offshore. Our Climate Watch series took you to the bustling port back in September, where scallopers who are sidelined by fishing limits now depend on offshore wind projects. We introduced you to retired fisherman Captain Jack Morris, who coordinates both fishing and off-wind trips for crews.
Every trip that the boats don't go, the captain, the crew, the owner, your shoreside people, they're not putting fuel in the boats. The welders are not welding. The electronics guys that service all the electronics, they don't have any action either. It's truly a ripple effect.
The Fed cited Department of Energy report in 2024 that says massive turbine blades and the highly reflective towers create radar interference called clutter. They go on to say that clutter obscures legitimate moving targets and generates false targets in the vicinity of the wind projects. The feds say they want time to address those issues.
This Vineyard Wind project area, along with the other project areas right nearby, have been vetted extensively over the last 15 years or so, and including by the Department of Defense.
I want to point out that we did reach out to both wind project companies. Revolution says it's going to suspend all ongoing activities in hopes to resolve the matter, quote, expeditiously. Vineyard Wind did not get back to us. The Department of Interior said they had no further comment.
Let's see what Connecticut has to say about their windmill bullshit.
Being pulled again. President Trump suspending all large offshore wind farms, including Revolution Wind in New London.
It is a move threatening thousands of jobs and cheaper energy. Your chief political reporter, Susan Raff, in the studio to explain what this means going forward. Susan.
Stephanie and Mark, this is now the second time this year Trump has ordered offshore wind projects to stop work. Back in August, Trump was sued and lost. As for Connecticut's Attorney General, he says they'll go back to court again. Connecticut's offshore wind project has been dealt another blow. President Trump is trying once again to stop Revolution Wind in New London, along with 4 other wind projects being built along the East Coast. Trump shut down Revolution Wind this past summer, putting thousands of jobs at risk and a multi-billion-dollar project on hold.
What a waste of
It
money.
was blocked in federal court. When we went there today, we did see a few workers on site, but it's not clear if all work has stopped. Revolution Wind is also more than 90% complete and is expected to start producing electricity this coming year.
President Trump wants us to pay more for electricity. That's the bottom line. He wants us
No,
to
he
use
doesn't. He don't
natural
want to
gas,
fucking
fossil
kill the
fuels,
birds and mess
oil
up
and gas,
the
gasoline. He wants us to
I
pay
don't get
more.
these people here in Connecticut.
And that's the only explanation.
Attorney General
We don't
William
need
Tong
fucking
says
wind
the only
energy.
way to bring down the cost of electricity is to generate more power. Revolution Wind, he
Yeah,
says,
but that's a
has been
waste.
given all the required
If a hurricane
federal and
comes,
state
it's going to break that
permits.
apart.
So what reason is President Trump
That makes
giving?
no
Well, this time
sense.
around, it is different. Tonight at 6, we'll tell you what that reason is
You don't
and
see those
what people
pieces
who
of shits in
live in the
South Florida.
New London area think about all of this. In the studio, your chief political reporter, Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, Susan, thank you very much.
Susan, that shit is fucking garbage, Susan. Like, those windmills are eyesore, first of all. Second of all, like, if a strong nor'easter goes by there, or a strong category 2, 3 hurricane comes up into the northeast, which is possible, it's gonna destroy all those fucking wind farms. And then what? You have no power, so what the fuck now? It's a waste of fucking money. All it's gonna do, it's gonna harm nature. You know, all those big ass fucking fans in the air and all the birds that fly and migrate, they're all gonna get caught up in these fucking windmills and they're gonna fucking end up dying. So stupid. It's what a stupid project. It doesn't make no sense. It's like you got idiots and morons and they're like, oh, but it's green. Yeah, that big ass hunk of metal is green. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious, God help me. I don't know. Let's see what else. Let's see what else we could watch here. This is just getting ridiculous. More ridiculous. Here we go.
A group of thieves caught on surveillance video stealing Christmas decorations in the West Valley. Thanks for joining us tonight at 11 o'clock. I'm Sasha Loftus. The people living in the house that was hit near Durango and Cimarron believe those responsible may live in the area, and it has other neighbors concerned. 8 News Now reporter Nick Summer joins us live from the newsroom tonight with the latest. Nick.
Sasha, what started as a missing inflatable has now turned into a police investigation, and neighbors say the situation is especially frustrating because these decorations are put up for the community to enjoy.
We didn't notice it for like 3 days. We took our trailer in to get serviced, and then we were going to video our property, and that's when we noticed a Christmas decoration missing.
Law enforcement is now reviewing all available camera footage in the area. They say the individuals involved in the theft include one adult woman, one young male, possibly a teenager, and one younger child. Homeowners Diana and William Porter say they've never experienced anything like this before, and the decorations are a tradition meant to bring joy to families on the street.
It's really broken my heart, you know, they acting that way because we want a safe place to live and we love our neighborhood and we want to continue that way.
The suspects were seen using a dark-colored
That's
SUV,
crazy.
possibly a
Look at
Toyota
that.
RAV4 or a similar model, believed to be between 2006 and 2012.
Horrible
However, the couple tells me they later located the stolen decoration and that it was taken by someone living in the area, but say when they knocked on the door of the suspected home, no one answered.
Disgusting. That's how they're raising their kids. So obviously they don't have high expectations for their children. That's the example they're leaving.
The couple says the thieves won't kill their holiday spirit. William Porter has a strong message for the people responsible and says his frustration comes from feeling disrespected in his own neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to break their faces. You can edit that out, but I want to beat the brakes off them. That's it.
And the Porters are now making it clear the individuals involved are not welcome on their property. They say any return to the area or further activity will be documented and immediately reported to police. Reporting live in the newsroom, Nick Summer, 8 News Now.
Damn, that's crazy. What is the world coming to that we have to go out there and steal inflatables? You know, those inflatables are not cheap. Those things are very fucking expensive. and people like they put like a whole like 20, 30 of them on their yard, like in their yard, and it's like one big freaking floating fest. And it's like it's crazy because we do get windy weather up here in the Northeast, and I have seen like those inflatables fly away in some yards. Uh, I seen it. I was driving. I was coming this way, and the inflatable was going the other way. I was like, "What the fuck?" It's so funny, but yeah, it's like you put it out there for people to see and to feel like the happiness of looking at these inflatables. You know, the kids that's what they out there looking and seeing how people decorate their homes and you know how festive they are. And you have a Scrooge that comes onto your yard and steals your inflatable, and then it looks like a bunch of kids. It doesn't even look like like adults. They're probably like young, dumb, full of cum age. And I hope you know I don't wish bad things on people, but man, if I always say an eye for an eye. If you do something like that, then something like that's gonna come back to you 10 times worse. And that sucks, right? I just put a curse on you. Yeah, Vegas. Guys need to be a little nicer and stop stealing inflatables. And it's not just there, it's everywhere. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna watch back to back to back on Tyson De La Cruz, and then we're gonna be wrapping it up for the night. So let's go ahead and set this up, and let's watch some Tyson De Cruz.
How about gathering around me? And we'll hold this up. Congratulations. It's an amazing job. Come on around.
America, President Trump just signed his 221st executive order, and this one is an absolute game changer in the war against the cartels. He's officially classified illicit fentanyl and its precursor chemicals as weapons of mass destruction. This isn't just symbolic. This gives the military and federal law enforcement unprecedented authority to go after the cartels that are poisoning American communities. And the timing of this couldn't be more critical because Arizona just reported a 79% surge in fentanyl powder seizures, the highest that they've ever seen.
Fentanyl is now classified as a weapon of mass destruction following a new executive order from President
That's good.
Trump.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Now, many of you know that I cover a lot of the bust from illicit drug raids on this channel. This executive order is a big deal because fentanyl is now the leading cause of death in Americans ages 18 to 45. This isn't just a drug problem anymore. It is a national security crisis. Let me break down exactly what this executive order does and why it actually matters. Trump's order designates illicit fentanyl and its core precursor chemicals as weapons of mass destruction. It acknowledges that the potential for fentanyl could be weaponized for concentrated large-scale terror attacks organized by adversaries is a serious threat to the United States. But here's the key part that changes everything. This executive order directs the heads of relevant executive department and agencies to take additional steps to combat this drug. That includes telling the Defense Department and Attorney General to determine whether the threats posed by illicit fentanyl justify providing military resources to the Justice Department.
No auto pen. None, ever. We don't like auto pens, right? We don't like auto pens. How about gathering around me and we'll hold this up. Congratulations. It's an amazing job.
This isn't just DEA agents making arrests anymore. This is the full weight of the United States military being authorized to target cartel operations, destroying drug labs, and eliminating the supply chains that are killing Americans. Trump called traffickers bringing drugs into the country a direct military threat. And my friends, he's honestly completely right about that. When a foreign organization is responsible for killing more Americans than car accidents, the cartels have been waging war on Americans for decades. Now we finally can fight back. The executive order also notes that fentanyl killed around 48,000 Americans last year alone. That's more than the entire Vietnam War. That is more Americans than we lost in the entire Iraq War. And unfortunately, those are the deaths that we just know about. The real number, in my opinion, is probably much, much higher. Now, some so-called experts are already criticizing this move. One professor from Carnegie Mellon said he personally would prefer not to call every single thing that kills large number of people a weapon of mass destruction. He said by that argument, cigarettes would be considered a weapon of mass destruction. But in my opinion, that is a ridiculous comparison. Cigarettes are a legal product that people choose to use knowing the risks. Fentanyl is an illegal drug being weaponized by foreign cartels to kill Americans. There is a massive difference, and this professor absolutely knows it.
Despite the president's claim, government data shows drug overdose deaths in the U.S. last year dropped to their lowest level in 5 years.
Of course, the media is also trying to downplay this by saying overdose deaths have dropped to the lowest level in 5 years. And that's true. Deaths peaked in 2022, close to 110,000, and have been declining ever since. But my friends, you know why they're declining? Because Trump's policies are already working. The boat strikes in the Caribbean, the military pressure on the cartels, the crackdown on precursor chemicals in China, that all has an impact. The 48,000 deaths is still 48,000 too many. And the threat isn't going away. It is evolving. The cartels are constantly finding new ways to smuggle fentanyl, new chemical formulas to avoid detection, and new markets to exploit. Classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction gives law enforcement and the military the tools they need to stay ahead of these particular threats. President Trump's executive order comes as the DEA is launching a major new campaign called Fentanyl-Free America. DEA Administrator Terry Cole sat down with Fox News for an exclusive interview about these particular efforts.
There's no doubt that these traffickers, these foreign terrorists, are designated to target our kids.
Administrator Cole said there's no doubt that these traffickers, these foreign terrorists, are designed to target our kids, you guys. They're using social media platforms to reach young people directly. When you walk through the first floor of the DEA headquarters, there are close to 5,000 pictures of kids who have lost their lives to this poison. 5,000 pictures, you guys. 5,000 American children dead because cartels are using TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat to sell these pills laced with fentanyl. I've said it time and time again. These kids think they're buying Xanax, Adderall, Percocets. Instead, they're getting a lethal dose of fentanyl pressed into these pills to look exactly like the real thing. The Fentanyl-Free America campaign is aimed at young kids, particularly teachers, families, and police officers, to educate them not only about fentanyl, but where it originates and the cartels who are reaching young kids through social media. This, my friends, is a comprehensive approach that goes far beyond just enforcement. It is about prevention, education, and disrupting the cartel's ability to reach American children. Administrator Cole also weighed in on the controversial boat strikes that have killed more than 50 suspected drug traffickers in the Caribbean. He said strikes are driving up costs for the cartels. When cocaine arrives in the Dominican Republic now, it's more expensive. When cocaine arrives in Puerto Rico, it's more expensive. The cartels are now having to factor in the risk of losing entire shipments, which essentially disrupts their business model. Now let's talk about what's happening on the ground at the border, because the numbers coming out of Arizona are absolutely staggering.
A record number of fentanyl busts seized this year by the Phoenix Division of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration.
The DEA says the Sinaloa cartel uses Arizona as a gateway for distributing drugs across the U.S.
This lab has seen a record number of fentanyl powder seizures, a 79% increase since 2024.
The DEA says the Sinaloa cartel uses Arizona as a gateway for distributing drugs across the United States, and they shifted their strategy from fentanyl pills to fentanyl powder. Why? Because the powder is more versatile and it can be pressed into pills, mixed in with other drugs, or sold directly. It's a lot easier to smuggle in larger quantities.
In 30 years of law enforcement, I've never been afraid of a drug. I'm terrified of fentanyl, terrified, because it is just a minuscule amount and your whole life is different. The powder is a little more terrifying for me because it can be pressed or put into anything.
Arizona seizes 60% of all drugs seized in the United States.
Oh my
That's not
God.
because Arizona has more drug users. It's because Arizona is the primary entry point for the cartel operation. As of December 1st, the United States DEA has
And
seized
Canada too.
45 million fentanyl pills
Canada
and
too.
over 9,000 pounds of fentanyl powder nationwide. But the Phoenix division alone is responsible for a massive percentage of those seizures.
We walked through the DEA's Phoenix Division Crime Lab where they test all the drugs seized in real time. In a matter of minutes, tests show positive and negative traces of fentanyl in the makeup of the drug.
We have about a 2-week lead time before the drugs that we seize here show up through the rest of the United States.
Lab technicians explain they're seeing fentanyl mixed into everything now. We're talking about cocaine, methamphetamine, counterfeit prescription drugs, even marijuana in some cases. The cartels are putting fentanyl into everything
back from the dispensary,
because
cook
it's
that
cheap,
shit.
it's so addictive, and it keeps customers coming back if they don't die.
I
And it's
don't
also killing
like
people
street
at
shit.
unprecedented rates.
And according to the DEA, in 2023, roughly 76% of all pills tested contained lethal doses of fentanyl. Today, that number is 29%.
That's significant progress, but it's still way too high. Nearly 1 in 3 pills seized by the DEA contains enough fentanyl to kill a person. That, my friends, is Russian roulette odds. DEA officials want to see those numbers drop even more. And with President Trump's executive order classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, they now have the resources and authority to make that happen.
Those cartels, forewarned, because we're coming. We're coming like we've never come before.
That's the message from federal law enforcement.
We're coming
and
like
they're
we never
backing it
come
up with
before. Like
action.
what?
Federal authorities in California
That sounds
announced
too
the indictment
sexual.
of 7 alleged Sinaloa cartel operatives, some connected to El Chapo's son, who's now in jail in Chicago. The men being held in California are charged with narco-terrorism, a new component of President Trump's Taking Back America initiative that elevates drug traffickers to the level of terrorists. While everyone focuses on the southern border, Administrator Cole is also closely watching the northern border, and what he revealed about Canada should alarm every American.
The Hells Angels are controlling a good portion of the drug trafficking in Canada.
Northern or
Yeah,
southern
it's already
border.
Canada.
Cole says his eyes remain on the cartels.
This is why, in my opinion, Trump's executive order is so important. It doesn't just focus on one border, one cartel. It treats the entire fentanyl supply chain as a weapon of mass destruction threat, which means every link in the chain, from Chinese chemical suppliers to Mexican cartel labs to Canada smuggling operations, is now a legitimate military target. America, President Trump just fundamentally changed how we fight the cartels. Fentanyl is now classified as a weapon of mass destruction, which means the military can engage cartel operations as enemy combatants. The DEA is launching
They have a lot of
Fentanyl-Free
drones.
America to educate kids and disrupt social media drug sales.
You're gonna
And
hit 'em
Arizona is
where
seizing
they're
record
at.
amounts of fentanyl powder as a Sinaloa cartel desperately tries to flood the market before the crackdown intensifies.
what's all those
48,000
pills?
Americans
Oh my
died
God.
from fentanyl last year.
That's
5,000
ridiculous.
pictures of dead children hanging on the walls of the DEA headquarters. The cartels using social media to target kids with pills that look like prescription medicine but
Like,
contain
how do you
lethal
dispose
doses
of
of
that?
poison. For decades, we treated this like a law enforcement problem. Arrest some drug dealers, seize some drugs, repeat. But the Trump administration understands what the cartels really are: a foreign terrorist organization waging chemical warfare against American citizens. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that part with the coming really disturbed me because we're coming like we never come before. I was like, whoa, okay, it sounds a little too sexual when she said it. I was like, you said it, girl. We're all gonna come. We're coming. Oh, goodness gracious. But listen, they really want to tackle this war on drugs. I think, Trump remembers the 80s, 70s, and 80s, how the drug scene was. And now it's like worse because they're introducing these cosmetic drugs. It's like fentanyl and like all these other drugs that they have out there that they're producing and try to infiltrate into America to kill the people here, because that's what it is. It's like, listen, here's your poison, and this young, dumb, full of cum, probably drunk, and I was like, okay, and takes it and chases it down and then ends up dying. So it's like a lot of them have went down that path and they're no longer here with us. And listen, I take them out, take them out everywhere in all their labs in Mexico, all in the Caribbean, all throughout South America. It's not just Venezuela. I'm sorry, no. We got Colombia, you got Brazil, you got Chile, Peru. Oh man, do you want to play Carmen San Diego and then let's pick out every fucking this? I used to watch Carmen San Diego. I used to love it. Who else used to watch Carmen San Diego? I know you guys have to have watched Carmen San Diego. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Oh my god. Such a great show. I always wanted to be on that show. As a kid, I really wanted to be on that damn show. But anyhow, we're not going to go against everybody. It's like there's a lot of drugs in South America, especially the white stuff. And Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, that area in the jungle too, that's mass produced. It's like that's not gonna stop. The train of truth is here. The train of truth is here. You found it on Internet Archive. What? Carmen San Diego? Such a great fucking show. Oh my goodness. I love geography. So let's go to the next episode of Tyson de la Cruz.
Could you give us a bare minimum of how much of that 18 billion you suspect will turn out to be fraud?
I think a significant portion.
America, the Minnesota fraud scandal just went from bad to catastrophic. Federal prosecutors now estimate that $9 billion, that's $9 billion, have been stolen from Minnesota's social services programs. 6 new suspects just got arrested. The House Fraud Committee is withholding whistleblower tips from state investigators because they don't trust them. Minnesota is pausing enrollment in multiple state programs because the fraud is so widespread they can't control it. And here's the kicker. Timmy Tampon Walsh, the guy who let all this happen on his watch, just announced that he's going to run for another term. Who's going to vote for this guy? Oh yeah, the Somalians who've been stealing billions in taxpayer money.
U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson eventually revealed that he thinks half of that $18 billion spent on those 14 different programs in Minnesota was illegitimate.
What is up, guys? Tyson de la Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. We've been following this absolute disaster in Minnesota for months now. If you want to check out everything we covered on this scandal, click the link above or in the description down below. But this, my friends, this is the biggest government fraud case in American history, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper like an endless pit of Somalia fraud. Let me break down just how catastrophic this fraud has become. Joe Thompson, the lead prosecutor in these cases, just revealed that he estimates half of the $18 billion spent on 14 different Minnesota social services programs was, get this, fraudulent. That is approximately $9 billion in taxpayer money stolen. Thompson says he doesn't make these generalizations in a hasty way.
When I look at the claims data and the providers, I see more red flags than I see legitimate providers. And overwhelmingly so.
Think about what this means. The lead federal prosecutor is saying when he reviews the providers in these programs, he sees more fraud than legitimate operations. These 14 programs are now deemed high risk for fraud, exploded in growth over the last few years, just like the Feeding Our Future meal fraud case situation that essentially was a canary in the coal mine. What we see in Minnesota isn't just a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It is a staggering, absolutely staggering industrial scale fraud. And the arrests just keep coming. 6 new suspects now face fraud charges as part of a widespread government fraud scheme. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced new charges just this week. These are people who were running systematic fraud operations across multiple programs.
Learning startling new details tonight as 6 new suspects now face fraud charges. 14 state social services programs have cost Minnesota $18 billion.
And now, miraculously, amazingly, Timmy Tampon Walsh wants to run for another term. What is this doofus absolutely thinking here? Timmy Tampon, I do not know how you get out of this one, broski. You've been governor.
How he's gonna run for another?
$1 billion was stolen from taxpayers. You defended the program
He's going to jail.
even as fraud was exposed. And now you think Minnesota's going to give you another term? The only people, in my opinion, that's going to vote for this guy are the Somalians who've been benefiting from this fraud the entire time, because everybody else in Minnesota is watching their taxpayers get stolen while the governor makes excuses and refuses to take responsibility.
Well, let's just continue this
Like
conversation.
a leak on
Because
the
also
ship.
today, the U.S. Attorney's
Eventually,
Office
the ship will
netted
sink.
a guilty plea from a defendant.
We're also seeing guilty pleas now. The U.S. Attorney's Office just got a guilty plea from a defendant who admitted her role in combination of the fraud schemes. Asa Hassan, you may remember that name. She was the first defendant charged with defrauding Minnesota's publicly funded autism care program. Now here's where the scandal gets even more corrupt. The Minnesota House Fraud Committee is withholding whistleblower tips from the Department of Human Services investigators. And the reason why is absolutely damning. They don't trust them.
Where are hundreds of tips of fraud involving taxpayer-funded programs going?
The House Fraud Chair revealed today that they are not being handed over to state investigators.
House Fraud Committee Chair Kristen Robbins said whistleblowers who reach out to them within the department are absolutely terrified. That's why the tips haven't been shared with the Department of Human Services investigators. To date, they have not shared them because there is absolutely no trust.
Whistleblowers who reach out to us within the department are terrified.
Chair Kristen Robbins says that's why tips haven't been shared with the Department of Human Services investigators.
And to date, we have not because there is no trust.
Think about what this means. The people inside the Department of Human Services who are trying to blow the whistle on fraud are so scared of retaliation that they won't go to their own agency's investigators. They are going to the House Fraud Committee instead because they know DHS will either ignore them or punish them for speaking out. Robbins explains what happens when she gets credible allegations of fraud from whistleblowers. They meet with them, they interview them, and then they send the tips to the U.S. Attorney's Office, not to DHS. The U.S. Attorney is one of the places she sends tips to because she can't trust the state agencies that are supposed to be investigating this fraud in the first place.
What does happen?
When I get credible allegations of fraud from whistleblowers, we meet with them. We interview them.
Robbins added the U.S. Attorney's Office is one of the places she sends tips.
You're bullshitting. Members are furious about this.
When you share with the U.S. With the Inspector General, they can shut off payment. The U.S. Attorney and the OLA can't. So as it relates to taxpayer dollars, if there are credible allegations that need to, even atomized, need to go to the Inspector General, and you are not turning them in, it actually means that you are preventing payments from being stopped.
The U.S. Attorney and the Office of Legislative Audit cannot do that. But Robbins fired back with a perfect response.
Why you don't trust the people on the other side of the room to investigate these whistleblower tips?
Because they have had the power to investigate for at least 7 years, longer. And the whistleblowers come to me after they've already been to the department, after they've already been to the Attorney General, and they've generally been ghosted.
The fraud, my friends, has gotten so bad in Minnesota. Minnesota is now pausing enrollment in multiple state programs. They literally cannot control the fraud anymore. So essentially, they're shutting down new enrollment to try to stop the bleed.
Allegations of fraud in Minnesota are mounting.
Today, state officials say that they expect to pause enrollment for even more state programs.
Earlier this month, the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services sent a letter to Governor Timmy Tampon Walsh asking that DHS stop all new provider enrollments for the 14 programs deemed high risk for fraud
illegal,
or risk
go
losing
back home.
federal Medicaid funds. So the federal government is threatening to cut off Minnesota's Medicaid funding if they don't get this fraud under control. Minnesota announced they would stop licensing new daycare providers for at least 2 years because 43% uptick in providers compared to just 7% increase in people needing those actual services. My question is, how do you get established as an adult daycare provider in the first place if there's nobody that you need to take care of? DHS Inspector General James Clark said he expects similar programs enrollments to be put on pause to comply with the feds. He suggests the legislator consider changing requirements for all DHS programs billing Medicaid to get ahead of the fraud before it actually happens, like requiring providers to show actual need for the services before getting licensed. Minnesotans are so fed up with the fraud that they started a grassroots letter writing campaign demanding accountability. They're writing to the state agencies asking pointed questions like which specific officials and managers have been disciplined, resigned, or removed because of documented oversight failures. This is a good question.
These are my lovely stockings.
From a nurse in Woodbury.
I am liberal politically.
To a retired airport worker.
Oh, I'm a Republican. We are all darn disgusted. We are furious.
Minnesotans on both sides of the aisle are sick and tired of hearing about fraud in
Common
state-run
sense.
programs for food, housing, and disability services.
Who's going to be fired for this? Who's going to take responsibility and stop passing the buck?
In a fraud special covered a few months ago, Governor Tampon Tim Walz says that.
So look, we do have new leadership over there. People have been removed.
But the reasons of those departures were never clear. We know the previous Education and Human Services commissioners both stepped down. An assistant commissioner at DHS also left the post, but nobody will say whether they were fired for the fraud failures or just decided to leave on their own. That, my friends, is not accountability. That is a cover-up. The fraud isn't just limited to social services programs. There's also massive education fraud scandal where Somalian immigrants are getting federal student loans without showing any identification, guys. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon is laying the smackdown on the fraud.
What we have done in looking through the entire program of the federal student loan program, and we had found, and there was a large concentration of it in Minnesota, those universities where students were applying for federal loan, they were not required to show any kind of identification to prove who they were.
Think about that. You get a federal student loan without proving your identity. That is not a program, is it? That's an invitation to commit fraud. And now the State Department is making it clear that this fraud is grounds for citizenship revocation.
Well, ultimately, I refer to law enforcement authorities for specifics, but what I can say from the State Department's perspective is that we have instituted policies when it comes to our visa policies that make sure that when someone comes to this country, the taxpayer will not be on the hook for that person, a public charge rule to make sure that we're looking at a whole host of different factors to make sure that someone comes here does not end up just relying on benefits, is actually someone that is going to assimilate and contribute, in addition to a whole other range of factors.
If someone is here on a visa and they violate the terms of that visa, if they break the law here, that is grounds for revocation. They're not going to tolerate people who abuse immigration laws or break the law. He said that they're going to take action and address it. Now, we talked about this a few videos ago, but it's worth mentioning again because it connects directly to what's happening in Minnesota. HUD Secretary Scott Turner released a report linking unchecked illegal immigration to the housing crisis and specifically called out the fraud in Minnesota. The report found that increased immigration has driven up housing prices. We already know this, straining the market and pricing out Americans. An estimated 15 million illegal immigrants constitute 30% of all foreign-born residents. And nationally, the foreign-born population account for over 60% of the growth in the rental demand. Turner said we had over 12 million people coming over our border unchecked and unvetted. This is straining our housing market from a supply standpoint and from an affordability standpoint. And in Minnesota specifically, you have a Somalia population that's been gaming the system, stealing billions in benefits and driving up housing costs for everybody. This all connects.
There's no space.
Border policies of the Biden administration allowed millions of people to enter our country. Many of them ended up in places like Minnesota, where they immediately figured out how to exploit social services programs. And now American taxpayers are paying twice. Once for the benefits that are and again higher housing costs because of the increased demand. Minnesota is experiencing the largest government fraud scandal in American history. $9 billion stolen from 14 different social services programs.
Wow.
6 new arrests this week. The House Fraud Committee withholding whistleblower tips because they don't trust state investigators. Programs being paused because the fraud is so widespread that they can't control it. And Governor Tampon Tim Walz, who let this happen, wants to run for another term. The lead federal prosecutor says that when he looks at providers in these programs, he sees more red flags
Why they
than
don't
legitimate
arrest them? You
Operators.
know?
Whistleblowers inside
That's
DHS
what I
are
don't get.
terrified to report fraud on their own agency. Minnesotians are demanding to know who's been fired for these failures. But nobody in Minnesota's government wants to admit this wasn't an accident or an oversight. This was a deliberate choice to prioritize political correctness over protecting taxpayer money. They knew the fraud was happening. Whistleblowers were reporting it, but they were more worried about being called racist than stopping Somalian immigrants from stealing billions of dollars. And now Timmy Tampon Walz thinks he can run for re-election like none of this happened. The only question is whether Minnesota voters are stupid enough to give them another 4 years to finish bankrupt in the state. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Tyson, great upload. I can't believe he wants to run again. You know, like he's such a failure, and yet he wants to run again. 9 billion. You know what's 9 billion? Shit, you know what's 1.6 billion that someone could possibly win tonight? That would be such a life-changing event for if I was to win, the people that are watching right now. And you better specify who's watching right now in the chat, because that's how I know. So yeah, I like everyone hopes. Shit, I hope it lands on me. Why not me? I could do a lot of good. I could do a lot of good, and I could do a lot of investing that put the money to work. You know, I'll put 500 million straight to the Tesla IP. Right from the start. I'll be like, look, boom, just leave it there and let it work. You know, let it work, let it work. And my niece will never have to worry. She'll be so well taken care of. Oh goodness, Kayla's watching, so she's in the. If I win, we win. Oh goodness, I want to buy a cul-de-sac, and we're all gonna have a farm. You heard the plans? I don't know where you hear from the beginning. If I was to win, I want to buy like a cul-de-sac and have our own like territory, like our farmland. Each one, everybody has their side of the land and the farmland, and you could put some cows and possibly some horses, and I don't know. I couldn't do the work. That's so much. I wish if I didn't have a fucking spinal injury and a fucking broken neck, I would fucking do that, man. I would have like a cul-de-sac and have like a nice little like the movie I just mentioned, the Big Fish. Big Fish. Such a great movie. If you haven't seen it, that's highly recommended by me for you to watch. It's a good movie. Trust me, you enjoy it. I know people that have watched it; they really enjoy the movie. I probably watch it again. I'll probably watch it tonight. Such a great movie. But yeah, I like to have like a little town with the little lights, put the nice little festive lights, and have in the center of the cul-de-sac. It'll be like a circle, of course, and in the middle you could put like the Christmas tree. Put a real tree, like a real that it'll look so beautiful, and then you could decorate it every year for Christmas. I'm gonna have my own little, like, my little like village. Have my own little, I don't know. Tomorrow, I'm not gonna be able to go up that way. We're getting snow tomorrow, and the roads are gonna be really slick. So I don't think it's a no go for tomorrow. I've been feeling this pain, my pain. Oh man, I went to a chiropractor today, and I've been feeling it a lot in my neck. And when I feel it like that, that means we're gonna get like rain to freezing rain. Like we'll probably get like maybe like 2 to 3 inches, but we're gonna get like rain mixed with that with some ice. So it's gonna get a little slippery, if you know what I mean, out on the road. So be very careful. We had crazy accidents here already, like today on I-84 towards Hartford. There was a tractor trailer that overturned and crashed, and a lot of its material that was being carried has spilled onto the highway and causing all other accidents. And it was a nightmare for people here in Connecticut traveling through the 84. Y'all suck if y'all had to go that way. Thank God I never had to go that way. But it's going to get a little treacherous tomorrow. It is going to get very icy and very slippery. So they are treating the roads as I speak. They're throwing a lot of salt on the roads and hoping like it doesn't become. I don't want to practice the Winter Olympics yet. I'm just saying because here we do get black ice, and it's very dangerous. It's something that is like it's a phenomenon, but it does happen. Water does freeze, and it blends in with the pavement. And sometimes you don't see it, and you can slip on it, and then you can bust your ass on it. Oh, it's the worst. I slipped like I caught myself, but it's like you gotta be careful. It's like, and tomorrow's that day that it's gonna be snowing all in the daytime too. So it's gonna start early in the morning, around 6 in the morning ish, and it's not gonna stop until possibly like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it will be overnight. It will be if you want to practice for the Olympics, tomorrow night is the night. I mean, I think the Winter Olympics next year is this year. I believe it's it is next year, but I believe it's in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, the Train of Truth is here. It's out there honking. But yeah, I'm definitely I am heading to bed, not feeling well. Yeah, you see, I feel like shit too, Kayla. Like my neck. Like my neck. Like I'm gonna have to put the cream. I have the cream. It's over there. I'm gonna put that cream in my neck and on my back because holy smokes, I'm feeling it tonight. And it's oh man. I hate like when the systems are not like straight snow. When it comes wet, it's like it hurts me so much. It hurts my body. Like my bones hurt, my spine hurts. I can feel the vertebrates that are hurting. Like it sucks. It's like, Rick, stop fucking whining. And I go, no, it's torture. It is. I just took my medicine, so it's gonna take like 30 minutes for that shit to start working. So I'll sleep okay tonight, but man, I feel it. You'll see tomorrow. You like out here it'll probably be like slushy. Like it'll be snow, but it'll be like slushy snow. And you know that overnight slushy snow, when it freezes, oh man, It's like it's like the Olympics. We're having opening trials. You know what? This snowfall will help with those resorts out here and the ski slopes, because we do have ski slopes out here, and this is great weather to make snow and even use make artificial snow with the snow and to build up the snowpack. So Christmas will be a great time to ski out here in Connecticut. They do, and they are have the systems running. I did see it yesterday because I was going down and I saw the ski slopes, and they already have snow. They have snow on it, and I'm sure with tomorrow's snow, it would be so great for business for Christmas. You know how many people are going to go to the slopes to ski down for Christmas? Oh man, Christmas morning, Christmas day, all day, night, it's going to be wild. I hope everyone has a great time skiing up here in the Northeast. Tomorrow, snow will be a great chance for these resorts to pump in a lot of snow through artificial and natural snow. And it's going to be great, like skiing weather. Like temperatures are going to be nice on Christmas. And the fact that you're going to be able to ski is even better. But just be careful out there. I wake up with headaches. I have a headache. Like I have it like in the front. Like I feel like tension in the front. Like right on this side here. It's like on the right side, like right here, like right by the hairline in this section. Close to the temple, but not on the temple because the temple's over here. So it's like it's in between the temple and the third eye. It's like right there. It's like this pressure pain. All right, so let's go ahead and set up for the last video of the night. And that's let me see. Hold on, let me see if there's anything breaking before I leave you guys. Another plane crash. Mexican Navy medical plane crash in Texas. So we're gonna have to watch that. So we are actually not ending the story yet. There's a football player. Okay, so we got 2 add-ons. Yeah, it's not over yet. I gotta watch the. So let me see if I can set this up real quick. YouTube is very tricky when setting up things like this, so give me a second. What is this about? We're gonna have to check this one out. We have another add-on. Okay, we have another add-on. Let me set all these up. Because there's been a plane crash in Texas. It's a small plane. It's a Mexican Navy medical plane crash. So we're gonna follow up on this real quick. And this is coming out of Texas. So good thing I you see, this is what I like about my show. Because sometimes I'm like, let me check. You know, there's something going on. I feel like something's going on. And sure, we got some breaking news coming out of Galveston, Texas, where a small medical plane has crashed. It's saying there were 3 people on the plane. Give me one moment. Okay, let's set these up. I gotta resize them. Oh, wild shit going on, man. That was gonna end a little early, but I guess not. Now with some breaking news going on. You know, I always do this to myself. Saying, I want to leave early. Like, no, the universe wants you to stay longer. I'm like, okay. I'm not going to go against the universe. You know, to me, the universe is definitely undefeated. Earth has been defeated before, but Earth recovers. You know, Earth is resilient. That's for sure. All right, let's do some housekeeping here. Housekeeping. Oh man, I want to see this one. Give me 1 second. It's the liberal. I definitely want to see it. Add-on. Rick with darn it add-ons. I'm sorry, but I think it's important for us to watch. So let me set this up. Because that add-on is not going to be for this one's not. We're going to go to the plane first. Okay, I think this is good. Let's keep going with some. Goodness gracious. Pause this here. Let's throw this over here. Okay. This may be an add-on. Yeah, this might be an add-on. It's like, damn, Rick, all these fucking add-ons. I know. Sorry, but I just want to make sure we get all this information, and more input is good input. But these are things that I want to see, and if you want to watch with me, thank you for watching. If you don't, it's okay to see your way out. But this one, we're gonna move this back. So we're not done with the show. So I know, Rick. I know. Bye bye. But it's okay. Okay, here we go.
We are also following some breaking news out of Galveston, Texas. This is from Fox 26 in Houston. They say multiple agencies are undergoing rescue efforts after a reported plane crash in Galveston Bay. Now we do have
What was in the water?
which is live on.
Oh, they're
scene
dead.
right now. Let's take you to their show. They have a reporter reporting live right now.
Hour and a half that we've been here on scene. Galveston County has been here on scene telling us some updates as to what's going on. We have been able to confirm that plane was a Mexican Navy plane that had about 8 people on board. It was a medical flight from La Fundación Micho y Mao, which is a foundation that helps transport child.
Oh no, another
I
one.
do want you to take a look at this video on your screen. It shows the scene a little bit earlier in the day where you can see a little bit of that low visibility that seemed to have could have been a factor to this plane crash that hasn't been confirmed yet, but that is what it seems to be. We are learning again new information. We're waiting for Texas TPS to get here on scene as
that fog's been killing people.
Are the lead agencies that are investigating this incident. This is the absolute latest confirmation that we have. So again, we do know about 8 people were on board. This was a medical flight from a Mexican Navy plane, and several people are dead as a result. We'll bring the latest on Fox Local, both on air and on the line in Galveston. Angie Rodriguez, Fox 26 News.
Oh no.
Angie, before you go, can you just talk a little bit about the scene? You've been there for a couple of hours now. How has that scene changed at all, as day has now turned into night, which I would imagine make those search efforts very difficult.
Yeah, it's nighttime now.
Yeah, I can imagine too, because we have seen a couple more vehicles pull up. We actually saw, and I want you to take a look behind me. This bus here actually is supposed to be one of the ones that helps firefighters. The temperatures drop just a little bit because of that low visibility. That's part of the reason as to why these temperatures are dropping here in this area. It appears we're seeing a stretcher being brought out with towels from EMS. So it looks like they're probably going to be staying here for a while when it comes to officers and officials on scene. A lot of sirens still on. We do know that this end of the causeway is actually closed off to the public. We're being told by officials to let the public know not to be in this area, but the exit here is still completely open for those that live in this area. I do want to let you know that the exit here off of Broadway Street is still open if you live in this area or maybe work in this area or on your way home. That exit is still open. But again, the end of the causeway is really what is being closed off as a part of the investigation. Once we learn more information, like I said, we're waiting for Texas DPA to get here on scene. They're going to be able to kind of update us when it comes to the injuries of those who remained out of the 8 people about that we are learning were on that plane, aside from the 3 that were taken in an ambulance and the several that we know died. So a lot of information still coming out of the investigation.
All right, Angie, really quickly, just to confirm, the search efforts continue right now, right? There's still people, search and rescue efforts, the folks on the boats, and they're out there in the water trying to make some recoveries here.
It looks like it right now. We've seen a lot of dive teams still out here. We actually saw a couple make their way from the causeway, from the end over here. We saw them pull out, but it seems as though they come out and they come back in. So it looks like they're just trying to maybe switch crews. As you said, it went from day to night, so that could also be affecting this investigation. But as of right now, it still seems that they are searching this area.
All right, Angie, stay active. Stay
Oh my
asking questions. We'll get
God.
back to you if you got any new
This happened in
information.
freaking Pennsylvania.
All right, we just heard from a reporter there on the
Was it in
scene
Philadelphia
in
that had this
Galveston,
happen?
Texas. She says 3 people are dead after that small plane crash. This was a medical plane crashing in Galveston Bay near the causeway. At least 3 people killed. 8 people were reportedly on board that plane. And this is a post from the Mexican Navy. They say that aircraft was working with an institution conducting a medical support mission with a foundation that helps child burn victims.
Oh my
Search and rescue
God.
protocols
All those
were
personnel
immediately
are
activated
gone.
in coordination with local authorities. The event is ongoing and
This
protocols
is
are being
horrible.
carried out in coordination with all relevant authorities.
Wow.
Again, according to Fox 26 in
This is
Houston,
horrible.
this
For
plane
Christmas.
went down in
Right before
Galveston Bay,
Christmas.
west of the causeway. Authorities saying 8 people were believed to be on the plane and 3 confirmed deaths as of this hour. Search
Every
and rescue
day,
efforts
another
are
plane.
still underway, according to the reporter there on scene. Multiple agencies assisting with those efforts, and we will continue to stay on top of that breaking news. Again, at least 3
We're never gonna
people
watch
killed
this.
in that medical plane crash near Galveston, Texas.
That's crazy.
And if you're running low on cash to get those holiday gifts, the Powerball jackpot just keeps on growing. The next jackpot estimated
That's
actually at
mine.
$1.6 billion after another drawing on Saturday without a winner. So that top prize now went up yet again. If you're feeling lucky, you may want to start planning how you're going to manage all that money if you are the lucky
Some of
winner.
you,
So joining us
the ones
live,
who are
we have
watching,
Patrick
I'll
Marcinko,
definitely
financial advisor
watch
for
over you guys.
Bogart Wealth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Patrick, we've seen that this is now one of the top 5 biggest jackpots we have ever seen, an estimated $1.6 billion prize. What is the actual cash payout here if someone were to win?
Well, it ultimately depends on kind of their tax rate, but for most people, especially that would get the lump sum payout here, you're going to pay a pretty hefty amount to taxes, kind of in the top tax brackets here, over 37%.
And so the winner sometimes has a choice of how they would like to
Yeah, but you
collect that
could
money.
could
What are the different
offset
options for
that
them and some
with
of the pros and
investments
cons of
and
each
donations
from
and
your
stuff like
expertise?
that.
So for most people in this
But
situation,
that's when you get an
you're looking
accountant.
at either the lump sum option. That essentially is they give you all the money today. Now you have to withhold taxes. The other option is they would give you an annuity, which is essentially fixed payments for pretty much the rest of your life. Now, one of the things is, well, a financial windfall like this, where you win the lottery, it's exciting. It's what we've talked with our friends about many times. It's also one of the things that we want to take some time and slow down and understand, okay, we first want to protect the money and really realize, hey, what is our tendency? If you're a big spender, we might want to consider the annuity.
And if the lucky winner was one of your clients, what other advice would you have for them? What are the first steps that someone should take? Of course, nobody expects to win the lottery, but if you happen to be so lucky, what should your immediate first steps be?
The first step is we have to slow everything down. Ultimately, when we think about a big windfall like this, it's really exciting. And what we don't want to do is have our emotions make expensive decisions and start to really think and say, hey, what do I want my lifestyle to be from here? And immediately start to seek some experts to really help map out what's possible and ultimately what's sustainable.
It's always a good idea to consult with the experts, especially when we're
Always
talking
an accountant,
about
attorneys.
this amount of money. So
Those are the first people you call.
The odds
Your
are
attorney.
pretty low here to get that big payout. Can you talk to us about how likely that actually is and how lucky exactly would the winner be in this case with such a
If
big
I call my
jackpot?
attorney, he's gonna freak the fuck out.
They would be tremendously fortunate. And I got to say, it is
In a good way.
incredibly unlikely for the person who's fortunate enough to win maybe tonight. Like I mentioned, congratulations. And it's going to be a life-changing event. Life's going to change very fast.
And just to take a look, as we said, this
The
is
top
one
five.
of the top 5 biggest jackpots we've ever seen.
It's in the top
Here's a look
5.
at the other top jackpots. So right now we're at an estimated $1.6 billion.
I wouldn't mind $1 million.
Now, Patrick,
You
as
know,
a
get
financial
all 5
advisor
numbers.
here, for somebody who's getting that
And then
amount
since
of
I
money,
played the
what
power
would you
play,
say
it'll
would
be
be
$2
the
million.
best way to kind of spread that out? Is that something that you would want to put a big chunk away for a while? What would be your approach if this was something that
Invest.
you were advising?
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the big things is that when money has a job, it has a category, whether that's your lifestyle, whether that's travel, whether that's preservation, it's going to last a heck of a lot longer. So before we even get to what investment bucket is going to be right for them, we really need to compartmentalize and understand, where do we want money to be? How much do we want to be allocated to different things like travel, lifestyle, new home purchases, and start to bucket and budget that out.
All right, thank you so much, Patrick. Any more tips for the lucky winner tonight? Of course, they might not need our advice with all that money at their disposal, but what would you say to the person who
It should
happens
be
to
pretty
get that
much
lucky ticket?
anywhere.
So if you're lucky enough to get the ticket, you're going to be overwhelmed with emotions. And
Oh, yeah.
oftentimes when we have windfalls like this, you want to rush and increase lifestyle, but it's very important to remember, lasting wealth is going to come from very thoughtful decisions. We want to keep things private, and good decisions will ultimately last a lifetime. Emotions can really take us off track. So good luck, and hopefully you're the lucky winner.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's hoping for that tonight. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us and lending your expertise here.
Wow, that's great. If whoever wins, shit, I wish I win, but good luck to whoever does.
We continue to follow breaking news where authorities are on the scene of a plane crash on Galveston Island. Here's the very latest. At least 3 people are confirmed dead. That is according to the Coast Guard. We have been reporting this since about 3:15 this afternoon when word came in about this crash. Matt Doherty joins us live on the island tonight to explain more details, where the plane was coming from, who was on that flight. Matt?
And again, like you said, the headline on this tonight is that 3 people are dead. 8 people, the Coast Guard is telling us, were actually on board that plane when it for Galveston Island. I'm going to step out of there and let Martine kind of give you a tour of what's happening over here. So this is this massive search and rescue effort that's happening right now. This operation, if you go this way just a little bit, you can see down the line just how many search and rescue crews from all different agencies are out here right now. I want to show you some video from earlier. About 20 minutes ago, we were told the FAA and NTSB investigators have arrived here. Galveston County Sheriff Jimmy Fullens, the aircraft carrying medical burns ago and was supposed to land at Skulls International Airport on Galveston Island. He says as of about 4:30 this afternoon, the plane was still above the water.
The road. Look how heavy that
video
fog
that
is.
we're not going to show you is what appears to be a child wrapped in medical gauze and plastic. The video also shows 2 adults who were transported earlier tonight. We still don't know if those are among the ones who
They're finding more bodies.
who officials are telling us have died in this crash so far. And we still don't know if all the bodies or all the people have been recovered. The Coast Guard has not told us that. What we do know right now is that 3 people are dead, and they're telling us that 8 people were on board that plane that was a medical
they're all dead.
burn plane
I
that
don't
was coming in from Mexico
If
here
they
to
survive,
Galveston
that's a
Island.
true
Of course, it is way too early to say what exactly might have caused this crash. However, like we showed you in our last hit earlier tonight at 6 o'clock, it is extremely foggy out here on the island today, all throughout the day. It's dissipated a little bit in the last 30 minutes or so, I would say, but it is still very, very foggy. Visibility is very low, Lynn.
All right, Matt, I'm wondering, so you said total of 8 people on board. We know 3 have died, but we don't have any word on the condition of the other 5 people so far.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We just got that confirmation from the Coast Guard about 30 minutes ago or so. I don't know if you saw this, but one of the DPS officers, who's the spokesperson for the Department of Public Safety, he's out here. They were the lead agency until the FAA arrived. They're supposed to be giving us some type of update at some point tonight, but we still are waiting that.
It seems when you look at the weather conditions, Matt, when the plane was coming down, the visibility was almost zero. That is almost certainly going to be one of the reasons and the cause for this crash. Even though we don't have official confirmation and explanation, the eye test tells us that had to be a part of the issue for this plane.
Yeah, you'd have to think that. And when we were coming down, I'd say, probably around 4 o'clock this evening, as we're driving down I-45 South, a trip that all of us have made at some point. It didn't really start to get foggy until you hit, I'd say about Lamarck or so, and then straight from there all the way over the bridge, it was just dense, thick fog today.
All right, Matt Doherty live down on Galveston Island with the very latest on that plane crash that happened about 3:15 this afternoon, just off the causeway. David Paul joins us. David, explain the density of the fog when it started and what you think the factor could be with all this.
Well, I think you guys are probably correct in saying that fog most likely had something to do with this. Anytime we have a smaller aircraft in association with the foggy conditions, that can lead to trouble in a hurry. Now, just to set your bearings on the visibility, inland, Buffalo Bayou downtown looking from the south side, and then Galleria area, clouds are thickening up above ground level. You can see that the cloud level is now just above or scraping the top of the taller buildings in downtown Houston. But compare that to Galveston. So this camera is looking over East Beach right here, and then that where it's brighter, that is Seawall Boulevard illuminating the surface fog, which is right at the surface above ground level. It clears up, but right at ground level, that fog has come in. That is sea fog. There's a closer look. Murdoch's is in here somewhere. Gulf of Mexico's out here. What you have is this warm, humid atmosphere that you can feel as you walk outside. Well, that warm, humid atmosphere is riding over the much cooler sea surface temperatures. It's dropping the temperature of the air mass to the dew point, and that's squeezing everything out as fog right near the surface. That is sea fog you're looking at. It is sea fog season. Winter is sea fog season here in Houston, Galveston. And right now, visibilities are a quarter mile, half mile or less up and down the Texas coast, and for all the inland bays like Galveston Bay. It will develop fog, and the fog will move inland overnight tonight. We wake up at 7:30 in the morning, very foggy across the area.
Fog everywhere.
And that will continue on the coast as well. And then inland fog burns off quickly mid-late morning. But notice again, like it was this afternoon, the fog is going to stay put over the waters of Galveston Bay and the nearshore waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So it's another day where anybody with interests that have to do with fog will need to be very careful and pay close attention to the forecast around the Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. Len Cannon, back to you.
All right, David Paul, thank you very much. Again, the breaking news update is this. A flight carrying medical patients from Mexico crashed just off the causeway in Galveston at about 3:15 this afternoon. We are told that 8 people were on board. We've confirmed so far that 3 people have died. We know 1 child was pulled from the water. We're waiting to get the condition of the other 5 people. Continue to follow us online and, of course, on air on KHU 11 News. We'll see you tonight at 10.
Oh, that is crazy. We definitely got to keep it moving. Put the sound up.
Been reunited with their families. Among those, 3 from Okaloosa County, a 17-year-old, 15-year-old, and 1-year-old.
Now, this comes after Operation Northern by U.S. Marshals. Our Natalie Williamson has your late reporting tonight. And Natalie, they're calling this the most successful missing child operation ever in northern Florida.
Yeah, that's right, Lenny and Cameron. According to the marshals, officers went door to door, scoured social media, and made phone calls to narrow down where the kids could be. And after 12 days, 43 children were found all across Florida. This video, taken by the Leon County Sheriff's Office in Florida, shows federal agents and law enforcement officers working behind the scenes to rescue dozens of critically missing children.
Wow. This was the largest missing child operation ever conducted in northern Florida, and we're very proud to say that 43 children will now be home safe for the holidays.
According to the U.S. Marshals, through Operation Northern Light, children ranging from 1.5 to 17 years old were reunited with their families.
1.5?
Include a 1, 15, and 17-year-old missing out of Okaloosa County.
Oh my
God. 1 and
God.
17-year-old were rescued by U.S. Marshals outside Jackson, Mississippi. The agency says 1 person was arrested for interfering with child custody. The U.S. Marshals say the 15-year-old and the child's abductor were found in Ocala. The adult was arrested and charged with interference with child custody. Greg Legedal, acting U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Florida, say the children that were saved were critically missing, meaning they were at risk of violent crimes or other serious harms like drugs, sexual exploitation, domestic violence, or crime exposure.
During the course of the operation, we ended up recovering children from multiple states, including Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana. We had a lot of these cases that could potentially lead to charges of human trafficking, of interference with child custody, and just a lot of really, really bad situations that these children had found themselves in.
Legedal says this wouldn't have been possible without the help of state law enforcement and local agencies, including Pensacola PD. Legedal says the biggest takeaway from this operation is to always know what your child is doing, who they are associating with, and be involved in their lives. Lenise,
Wow, that's so scary. That is so scary. Let's keep it moving.
South Oak Cliff High School football player is charged with shooting a teammate hours after winning the state championship. According to police records, that shooting happened while a rifle was being mishandled. Fox 4's Dion Anglin joins us now with more on this story. Dion.
Hi there, Heather. One high school athlete is seriously injured by gunfire. His teammate was arrested and now faces a felony charge. The details thus far
What's going on in society
about how it all happened. Dallas police say the bizarre shooting incident happened inside this two-story home on Knoll Ridge Drive. 18-year-old Xavier Mayfield, who plays strong safety for the South Oak Cliff High football team,
what's in the water over there, Chloe?
Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for firing a gunshot that injured a teammate. Just hours earlier at AT&T Stadium, Sauk defeated Richmond Randall High to claim the state championship title. Game highlights include Mayfield making this key interception to set up the Golden Bears' first touchdown. Court documents allege Mayfield on Saturday around 9 p.m. was near a bedroom on the upstairs level at the home, holding a rifle when a single gunshot from the weapon discharged, striking one of his teammates in the neck.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
transported to a local hospital.
died.
However, the teammate's condition Monday is unknown.
He must have died.
The shooting happened at a gathering some describe as a victory celebration.
Why
The
would he
arrest
pull out his
affidavit
gun,
does
though?
not clarify why Mayfield was holding a gun or
Exactly.
who the weapon belongs to. The document describes an interview with Mayfield and points out Mayfield stated he turned around towards where the teammate was at and stated right after he turned around, a single gunshot went off from the ARIS ABC rifle that Mayfield was holding.
Oh, Lord.
Mayfield
He
told
ruined his
police
whole
the victim
career.
was bleeding badly, and he rushed to get him downstairs before calling 911. Another teammate was also inside the house at the time. According to the affidavit, he gave a statement saying he was on his way to take a shower when he observed Mayfield swinging the rifle that was used in the offense.
Oh,
He
my
stated
God.
Mayfield told him the rifle had the safety on.
Oh,
Mayfield, after
no.
his arrest, was jailed with a bond set at $50,000. That's the very
Oh,
latest in the newsroom.
no.
Deanna Anglin. Heather, back to you.
All right.
Oh,
Deanna,
his
thank you.
career is going to be fucked now. Oh, what a horrible turn of events there. Oof. Let's keep it moving.
Well, some community leaders in Goldsboro are working on a plan to try to curb teen gun violence following the death of a 13-year-old.
3 teens are in jail tonight, charged with her murder. CBS 17's Baron James is live where the shooting happened. And Baron, you spoke with the victim's family, and since we last saw you, I can see where the memorial behind you has grown a bit.
It truly is, Russ and Angela. In fact, friends and family are here now. They've been coming out throughout the day here to this memorial, very distraught, as you would imagine, trying to make any sense of what they say appears to be a senseless crime of teen-on-teen gun violence that happened just days before Christmas.
She's a bubbly young lady, always smiling.
Family started placing flowers Monday in her memory here on Alpha Court in North Goldsboro, where police say gunfire rang out.
Saw her laying over there, Lily. I saw her laying over there under the sheet. And, you know, I was condoling the family and showing support with them. So it's kind of rough last night.
Lily's aunt identified and shared this photo of her niece, who was a 7th grader and cheerleader at Wayne Academy. Goldsboro police came here just outside the Alpha Arms Apartments around 4:30 Sunday afternoon and found the 13-year-old girl suffering from a gunshot wound. Wayne County EMS pronounced her dead on the scene. Investigators arrested the 3 teen suspects on Monday, 2 16-year-old boys and a 15-year-old boy. Each is charged with first-degree murder and felony conspiracy, which under the law means police believe this was a planned act of violence, and so do the victim's family.
I was talking to the Goldsboro police officers, and I said I had 2 people that walked in the back of the building back there
who were acting suspiciously.
Right, they was acting suspicious.
Lily's aunt told CBS 17 that the child, her 14-year-old sister, and several other boys and girls were walking along here when the shooters jumped out of these woods and opened fire. Now, community leaders are stepping up to try to stop the teen-on-teen gun violence.
I want to do a mentor program for teens, girls, and a big brother, big sister program for, I think they just need more mentorship.
They need to, like...
And back out here live, as you mentioned, Russ, this memorial to Lily continues to grow with flowers and stuffed animals. And her aunt tells me Lily also has presents still under the Christmas tree that she'll never get to open now. Police say the teen suspects are locked up in the juvenile detention center in Greenville. We're live in Goldsboro, Wayne County. Baron James, CBS 17 News.
Wow. That's so sad. All right, let's keep it moving.
Surfer attacked by a shark at Lover's Point.
This morning, an urgent search and rescue underway to find a swimmer who went missing after reports of a possible shark attack.
All the other swimmers came in because they thought maybe it was possibly a shark attack.
Authorities say the 55-year-old woman was last seen Sunday off Lover's Point in the Monterey area. Other swimmers jumping out of the water after they saw a huge splash. Local beaches closing down Sunday afternoon. Multiple agencies, including the U.S. Coast Guard, racing against time to find her. Searching from the air and the sea using drones, helicopters, and boats, looking for any sign of the missing woman.
Once it's dark, it's not fruitful, and it's actually really dangerous for us to be out here.
The tight-knit community on edge.
I've never seen this much activity before in this area.
Lovers Point, also the site of a 2022 shark attack. A man suffering major injuries to his stomach and leg after a shark bit him. Experts say shark bites are still extremely rare, adding it really only happens when shark feels threatened or mistakes.
I don't go to the shark's
What I
home.
recommend is avoid dawn and dusk. These are time
I don't see no
periods
sharks
where
coming into my
active
home,
and
so I ain't
sometimes
going into
running.
theirs.
And we always recommend also trying to avoid areas where the water's really murky, because that might be where a shark actually makes a mistake.
Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
Hell to the no. I am not doing it. That's just crazy. Oh, let's see this one.
Time for Space Watch now. The US President Donald Trump is pushing to maintain American space superiority, signing an executive order to bolster the industry. Among its goals, we're told, building a permanent base on the moon by the end of the decade. Joining me live now, Dr. Brad Tucker, astrophysicist and cosmologist with the Australian National University. Brad, great to see you. I love it. Trump has sights with this one. It says space superiority. I think I'm branding this "Make the Moon Great Again." I'm surprised he hasn't said that already.
It's something like that. And, you know, the interesting thing about it is there's a little bit unclear in the specifics of this. And some of this is already stuff that's been announced. What it really, I guess, is more is it hasn't about this. It's taken a year to administrate. Jeff Isaacman was only approved and sworn in last week. But really, I guess, promising to uphold that there is a commitment to get back to the moon and stay at the moon. Now, this has always been, as I said, NASA's plan for quite a while, but with a lot of the cuts that have happened in the U.S., it's been uncertain whether that was going to be a priority with the private companies. So it's good to see, I guess, the current administration still continuing to this. 2028 was always also the timeline to get back to it. I think the big question is, will there be funding and support to make that a reality, given there's some debate about whether the U.S. will be there or not?
We saw another frontier broken over the weekend, the first wheelchair user to enter space, Brad.
Yeah, so on one of these Blue Origin kind of tourist flights, a German engineer who is paraplegic was the first person to go into and reach kind of space. Now, ESA has actually already had a professional astronaut in the training corps who also is paraplegic. And the interesting thing about this is, and there's a big growing reason, is they actually everything's normal up there because of microgravity. You're kind of floating around. There is no need. No one can.
They did a Katy Perry,
so to speak. And there's actually
the first
potentially a lot of health benefits. There's a huge amount of
Perry.
health problems that we get with the loss of bone density and calcium buildup, blood loss and blood flows, blood distribution. People who are paraplegic on Earth have a different adaptation to these things and actually may benefit and be a better astronaut candidate than those who are not. So it's a big step forward in terms of understanding space medicine as well as future space travel.
That's not space, though.
And we saw another milestone, a
Just
moment
went
for
up and
milestones.
down.
It seems the Hubble Space Telescope capturing asteroids colliding around a neighboring star system for the first time.
Yeah, and this is quite cool because we know in the early solar system, when our solar system forms, other star system forms, it's quite chaotic. We think of that we have 8 or 9, depending on your view of Pluto, planets. It wasn't always like that. It was really turmoil. So there was a lot of planets forming and coming together and breaking apart. So these asteroids, which were about 60 kilometers wide, saw them actually crash and create this debris field. And so these are asteroids by our definition, but we think a lot of planets formed by these chunks of rocks coming together, and some of them come together and merge to form bigger, others annihilate each other. So we're really seeing kind of the evolution of how planets around stars form. So really kind of exciting to see the growing phase of solar systems, things that we don't really get a lot of insight in, and really caught this one purely by chance, but a good chance nonetheless.
Yeah, a good chance is always better than a bad chance, isn't it? And the final one, Brad, today, Earth had a visitor over the weekend, a comet, supposedly close in space terms, just 270 million kilometers away. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is one everyone's been watching.
Yeah,
Comet 3I Atlas, this potentially believed alien spaceship. It is not an alien spaceship. This is an interstellar comet, an object that has traveled from a different star system and is, as you said, made its, for our definition, close approach at 270 million kilometers. This is only the third time we've ever had an object like this, and 3I Atlas was caught really early, so lots of attention has been paid to this object. So a lot of telescopes over the weekend were studying it to gather as much detail as possible, because again, even though it's not that close for a lot of people, it was a lot easier for telescopes around Earth or on Earth to observe as well. So gathering as much data to study how are comets formed, how do they relate to this comets in our own solar system, and whether these sorts of objects in this solar system it came from have the ingredients for life. So lots of information to be gained over the weekend when it was a fairly worldwide effort to study its close approach.
Dr. Brad Tucker, we always appreciate you making space so approachable for us and dramatic some weeks. Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us.
You too. Take care, everyone.
Sounds like he's losing his voice. All right, let's go ahead and continue with Liberal Hive Mind.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. All right, so I'm just going to say it. I've had enough of Ben Shapiro and his little antics. I've had enough of these purity tests and these Israel loyalty tests. And I don't want that to come off as if I'm a groyper or some sort of anti-Israeli conspiracy theorist, because I'm really not. For the most part on this issue, I kind of just don't care. I'm more interested in domestic issues than I am on pretending to be an expert on foreign conflicts and religious freaking holy wars. And I'm saying that because I don't want the conversation to be derailed. Oh my God, you're crazy. You're a groyper. You're an anti-Semite. You're just like Candace Owens. I don't even want to have that conversation. No, I want to focus on what appears to be the phenomenon of the woke right. And again, as I've maintained, the woke right, in my view, is the exact opposite of what's described by the people who coined the term. We are witnessing the conservative side import the left's worst power impulses. The left built this entire worldview and power structure around speech controls, guilt by association, using these taboo topics as ideological weapons of intimidation. And now it appears we've got a part of the right that's flirting with the same impulse. Speak to someone I don't like, have an opinion I disagree with, and we'll use institutional power to denounce, deplatform, blacklist, exile. That is not who we are. At least it's not who we're supposed to be. I mean, it seems massively hypocritical after spending the last 10 years fighting against this culture. But alas, here we are. Ben Shapiro takes the stage at TPUSA and uses the moment to again attack Tucker Carlson as some sort of evil figure that should be vilified, someone who should be excommunicated from what he deems real conservatism. They worked tirelessly to get TPUSA to cut ties to cancel Tucker's appearance, and when that didn't work, well, they decided to take the stage and trash Tucker Carlson publicly. What's going on here is divisive and destructive. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening and then, of course, have a conversation. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so we got Ben Shapiro taking the stage here at TPUSA's America Fest in Phoenix. And again, like a broken record, there's so many important issues, but for some reason, the Ben Shapiros of the world, the Mark Levins of the world, for the last however many months, I don't know, maybe even a year, they're a broken record. It feels like they put almost no focus on actual important issues, and instead they just keep harping about Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson.
We have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect. That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes, the Nick Fuentes who said that the vice president of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it. There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up, and he ought to take responsibility for that.
And at one point, Ben talks about taking accountability. But what does that even mean in this context? Take accountability for what? Engaging in basic journalism and sitting down with an individual who is highly popular with Gen Z males to try to understand, to try to get in the head of said person? Just get over it. And of course, Ben Shapiro defenders will claim that, well, this isn't right-wing cancel culture. They're not trying to cancel him. They're just criticizing him publicly. But obviously, that isn't the case. We can put two and two together. We understand the demand here that is being implied. They want you to treat Tucker Carlson as if he's radioactive. They want him pushed out. They want him blacklisted. He should be ostracized from conservative politics for the crime of doing an interview or having a couple opinions that they disagree with. And of course, it doesn't just apply to Tucker Carlson. No, it's anybody like Tucker Carlson. Anybody engaging in the same thought experiments or asking the same questions. It's obvious moral outrage in an attempt to whip up a frenzy, ostracize the people they disagree with, and then reform the party in their neocon image. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if Nick Fuentes is a perfect little angel, as if he's never pushed the boundaries. Obviously, the controversies around him exist for a reason. I understand the same clips that are being played over and over again. It's a controversial guest, but having someone on your show who is wildly popular should not be treated as a crime against humanity. But anyways, Tucker Carlson actually took to the stage after Ben Shapiro, and his response, I think, was quite thought-provoking.
I just got here, and I feel like I missed the first part of the program. Hope I didn't miss anything meaningful. I watched it. I laughed, that kind of bitter, sardonic laugh that emerges from you when, like, Upside Down World arrives. To hear calls for like deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what? This is hilarious. But the prediction that, you know, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, and really felt that was important. I was right. Thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns. Deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? Whole like Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life. And I think that he died for it. I really believe that.
I totally agree with Tucker's response. Obviously, there's a censorious political impulse here. The idea is to shut down ideas that they find detrimental to their preferred worldview. But that's not the way we're supposed to do it. We've been dying on this free speech hill for a long time. This conservative space is supposed to be a place where you can argue, where you can debate, where you can engage with potentially controversial topics and ideas without turning every disagreement into a damn purity test. And mentioning purity test, this would imply that something unpure was done or said, some great offense has taken place. But even there, I think the argument being made is absolutely weak. What exactly is the issue here? Tucker interviewed somebody who is wildly popular? The accusation coming from Ben Shapiro and others is that Tucker Carlson mainstreamed or popularized, platformed Nick Fuentes. Give me a freaking break, please. As if Nick Fuentes has become a household name because Tucker Carlson sat with him, like a month and a half ago? No freaking way. No, the reason Tucker sat with Nick Fuentes is because Nick Fuentes has a massive platform and huge influence in the online political world. And ironically enough, if you ask yourself, who has done the most to platform, uplift, and mainstream Nick Fuentes, it's the Jewish political lobby. Come on, guys, it's not complicated. It's the Streisand effect. You don't stop talking about the guy. He wouldn't be nearly as popular if Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and all these other characters weren't mentioning his name every 2 freaking seconds. You want him to go away? Then stop. Or you know what? Actually engage. Engage on ideas, debate the ideas, disprove his claims. But instead, no, they want to ostracize and excommunicate. And of course, what does that do? It feeds into the conspiracy theories and the narratives. The more they try to cancel him, the more they feed into these conspiracies regarding Jewish influence and control in American politics and culture. I mean, what do you think people are saying regarding TPUSA. You've got the Daily Wire that donated $1 million to TPUSA following Charlie Kirk's assassination. Then all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro gets put as the headline speaker of the event, and then he uses that moment to attack supposed insidious forces within the conservative movement, trying to mobilize a mob against Tucker Carlson for the crime of asking questions. Come on, this is a mistake. And obviously it has really less to do with, quote, platforming Nick Fuentes, engaging with Nick Fuentes. It has less to do with Nick Fuentes at all, and more to do with Tucker Carlson, obviously. He's questioned the Israeli government and the war in Gaza, and so they've decided that he is now public enemy number one. He must be destroyed. It obviously has everything to do with that and less to do with Nick Fuentes, right? Because if you think about it, since the year started, Nick Fuentes has been on, I don't know, like 15, 20 podcasts and all kinds of shows doing all kinds of interviews, but for some reason, the outrage is only targeted at Tucker Carlson. It's obvious what's going on here. And again, I'm just going to say the same thing. You have the right to question official narratives. Since when was blind, absolute allegiance to Israel some kind of conservative value? Since when can we not question official narratives? That's all Tucker Carlson's doing. He's engaging with ideas. He's skeptical. He's trying to be intellectually honest. Why is that grounds for cancellation? Tucker Carlson did nothing wrong. And even on the issue of Nick Fuentes, while I might not agree with everything that he says, at the end of the day, the ideas that he holds are not unique to him. There's a lot of people who feel different ways about all kinds of different topics. We have to be able to engage with these topics, engage with these people, have genuine, honest conversations, and simply let the best ideas win. Now, I get why people are sensitive about anti-Semitism. I understand it. I understand the history. I understand why Jewish people react very strongly and defensively, but we cannot go down this path where the answer is speech control and blacklisting. And again, I want to reiterate, I genuinely feel taking this angle is counterintuitive. There seems to be this paranoid thought that Nick Fuentes has now become the mainstream and he's taken over the entire party, and it's a cancer that must be warded off and fought, blah, blah, blah. The reality is Nick Fuentes represents a fringe. And if you're truly horrified of that fringe culture taking over, well, then I feel like this should be the last approach that you should take. Stop trying to play God. Stop trying to be the thought police. Stop trying to force your preferred ideological outcome and simply engage in the debate. You know, I guess final thought here. I'd rather see Ben Shapiro actually sit down with Tucker Carlson. I'd rather see him sit down for 2 hours and have a conversation and debate with Nick Fuentes than what I'm seeing right now. We're not going back to speech control and loyalty tests. I want free speech and a robust culture of political debate. And that includes engaging with the most controversial of characters and ideas. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hey, he's not wrong. Liberal hive mind ain't wrong. I mean, free speech is free speech, but Ben doesn't want or believes in free speech. He's more into control speech, and if it's offensive, oh, you can't talk. Like, get the fuck out of here, Ben. You mess with, I don't know. He's coming to this. He's coming too close to the sun, and he's getting burned. That's for sure. And let's go to the last video of the night to wrap up the night. My back is killing me. Oh my god, I can't wait to finish. But I wanted to watch those with you guys, so let's go straight to Tyson de la Cruz.
I do believe that he does present a flight risk and a risk to the community.
America, Christmas is around the corner. I hope you got your cookies, hot chocolates, and gift all wrapped up for your family. Let's jump into the story. Federal agents just busted a human trafficking operation that's been running for years inside On the Border Gentlemen's Club in Franklin, Wisconsin. And the details here are kind of wild. 4 men arrested, women forced into commercial X acts. I got to say that for the YouTube, in VIP rooms while bouncers turned off the lights and took tips. Victims beaten up until they were unconscious, and 100% of their earnings confiscated. And here's the kicker. These traffickers were also using the victims' identities to commit PPP loan fraud, stealing pandemic relief money on top of exploiting women for wrecks. Management allegedly knew and facilitated the entire operation because they were making money off of human misery.
Now to our big story tonight at 10. 4 men with ties to a Franklin strip club are charged in connection to a human trafficking case.
What is up, guys? Tyson Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Now, I know this isn't something new. This is more than likely happening in a lot of different places across the United States, probably places like Vegas, California, Arizona, and places probably in the Midwest. But this case is particularly egregious because it operated for years inside a licensed business with management allegedly looking the other way. Let me break down how this trafficking operation worked inside On the Border Gentlemen's Club. Every time I hear that, I think about that song with T-Pain. I'm in love with a stripper. I'm in love with a stripper. This strip club was located on 10741 South and 27th Street in Franklin, Wisconsin. According to the criminal complaint, this wasn't just a strip club where some illegal activity happened on the side. This was a systematic trafficking operation where management facilitated commercial Rex acts in VIP rooms.
Tonight, physical abuse, threats, and forced sex acts. An elaborate 5-year human trafficking investigation.
The investigation dates back to 2020 and has resulted in charges against 4 men with ties to the club: Jimmy Durant, Devontia Rule, Maurice Russell, and Brian Hopkins face various charges from human trafficking to domestic abuse and victim intimidation to keeping a place of prostitution. Prosecutors say the victims were forced to have Rex for money in the club. The investigation started in 2020 as part of a joint local and federal task force operation. The FBI was tipped off about the prostitution ring, drug dealing, and loan fraud happening at the downtown Milwaukee apartment, which eventually led them to On the Border. I'm in love with a stripper.
New tonight, a developing story involving a well-known adult entertainment club. It's at the center of the law enforcement.
Court filings say multiple Instagram messages discuss trafficking women and advertise them on websites. This wasn't some underground operation. These traffickers were openly discussing their criminal enterprise on social media, advertising the women on escort websites, and operating with the club's knowledge. The club's manager, 50-year-old Brian Hopkins from Oak Creek, is charged with keeping a place of prostitution. Prosecutors allege he accepted money to hire dancers, connected them to pimps, and allowed commercial wrecks to occur inside the club. Now let's talk about the 3 main traffickers charged in this case, because the details of how they were controlling their victims are absolutely insane. Jimmy L. Durant Jr., who goes by Fly or Flavio, is charged with multiple counts of human trafficking.
In court Friday.
This is concerning that this was going on.
Jimmy Durant, Brian Hopkins, Dontavia Rule, and Maurice Russell, all facing human trafficking related charges. The allegations stemming from an investigation at On the Border Gentlemen's Club in Franklin.
According to victim statements in the complaint, Durant would recruit women via social media, promising them elevation and financial freedom. But once he had control of them, the reality was completely different, just like every other pimp. Durant used physical violence to enforce control. He took 100% of the victims' earnings from both the strip club Rex acts and hotel out calls, if you know what I mean. Victims described being beat up, strangled, and forced to walk the streets in the freezing rain. Durant tracked them using Life 360, a location sharing app. He took their IDs and social security cards so they couldn't leave. And if they didn't meet their quotas or showed any disrespect, he would physically assault them.
Investigators received multiple search warrants yesterday that led to the arrest of 4 individuals with ties to On the Border Gentlemen's Club.
Then there's 31-year-old plus SMS is a for multiple victims. Force couldn't have contact with other males. Rule conducted monthly physical assaults on his victims. He repeatedly strangled them until they lost consciousness. What would happen if they disobeyed?
Search warrants led to the arrest of 31-year-old Jimmy Durant, 31-year-old Dantavia Rule, 31-year-old Maurice Russell, all from Milwaukee, and then 50-year-old Brian Hopkins from Oak Creek.
The third trafficker is Maurice Russell, charged with receiving proceeds of human trafficking. trafficking. Russell would date victims under false pretenses, then take all their income from dancing and Rex acts. He opened social numbers and applied for fraudulent business loans in their name. Now, let me tell you how On the Border strip club facilitated this trafficking operation, because the details in the criminal complaint are pretty damning. According to a former employee who came forward in 2020, staff were benefiting from the club. In the 22-page complaint, prosecutors lay out what they say was each man's role. One victim told investigators that the Rex Act happened inside the VIP lounge. She said bouncers would turn down the lights when Rex acts occurred. Bouncer would also take tips, and they were protecting it by controlling access to the VIP rooms.
Rule and Russell, the accused recruiters, and Hopkins, who was the manager at On the Border.
Victims were coerced into working into that club and clubs in other states. They were forced to turn over all of their cash earnings. Prosecutors say that one victim told police that she would hand over all the money that she made to Durant, and if she didn't, he would physically abuse her. The complaint says that victim managed to leave, but when she asked about the money he kept from her, Durant told her, "You pay to go to college. If you don't finish, you don't get your money back." That, my friends, is how these traffickers and pimps work. Now, this is women for Rex acts. They're using the victim's personal information to commit PPP loan fraud during the pandemic.
Court filings say multiple Instagram messages discuss trafficking women and advertising them on websites.
According to the criminal complaint, the FBI was tipped off about the prostitution, the drug dealing, and loan fraud happening at a downtown Milwaukee apartment. That investigation eventually led them to discovering traffickers were using victims' identities to apply for PPP loans. Victims' personal information was used without their consent to create fake businesses and apply for pandemic relief loans. The victims never received any money. The loan paperwork was tied to escort ad emails and the traffickers' residences. Multiple victims and businesses weren't real. This is identity theft on top of human trafficking. These traffickers were exploiting women for Rex acts, taking all of their earnings, then stealing their identity to defraud the federal government. The criminal complaint details systematic violence these traffickers used to control their victims. We're talking about some crazy Diddy stuff happening that I can't unfortunately say because this is YouTube. Some victims reported losing consciousness and thinking that they This is how human trafficking works, guys. This isn't just about commercial Rex acts. It's about creating a system of total control through violence, intimidation, and isolation. These traffickers took the victims' IDs, tracked their locations, controlled all of their money, and used physical violence to enforce compliance. On Thursday, December 12th, the FBI arrested all 4 defendants, Jimmy, Devantia, Maurice, and David Hopkins. All appeared in courts Friday for their initial appearance.
As this court is aware, these individuals were arrested yesterday morning.
Jimmy Durant, Dontavia Rule, Maurice Russell, and Brian Hopkins face various charges from human trafficking to domestic abuse and victim intimidation to keep a place of prostitution. A judge denied requests from 3 of the men's attorneys to dismiss the charges.
The prosecutor argued that these individuals present a flight risk, which I think is true, and risk to the community. And given the nature of these charges, human trafficking, violent assault, beating, strangulation, identity theft, that, my friends, is the absolute right call. The investigation involved multiple agencies working together. The FBI led the effort as part of a joint local and federal task force operation. Franklin Police, Milwaukee Police, and federal prosecutors all collaborated to build the case over 5 years.
And we reached out to the Gentlemen's Club. They declined comment. We also reached out to the Franklin mayor, but we are still waiting for a response.
Each defendant faces serious charges. If and when convicted, they're looking at decades decades in federal prison. And with evidence that the FBI has collected, victim testimony, electronic communication, financial records, and PPP loan fraud documentation, this case is pretty solid. America, 4 men just got arrested for running a human trafficking operation inside a licensed strip club in Franklin, Wisconsin. For years, women were forced in commercial Rex acts in VIP rooms while bouncers dimmed down the lights and took tips. Victims beaten up, strangled until they lost unconsciousness, and had 100% of their earnings confiscated. And these traffickers were also using the victims' identities to commit PPP loan fraud, stealing pandemic relief money on top of exploiting them. The club's manager allegedly accepted money to hire dancers, connected them with pimps, and allowed the entire operation to continue because apparently everybody was making money. The investigation took 5 years because the victims were too terrified to come forward while they were still under the traffickers' control. But here's what this case really exposes. Human trafficking doesn't just happen in dark alleys or sketchy motels. It happens inside licensed businesses where management is looking the other way because they're profiting from the exploitation. On the border operated for years with the city's approval while women were being systematically abused inside. And as we know, this isn't unique to Franklin, Wisconsin. I'm sure things like this are happening across the country where strip clubs provide the perfect cover for these type of trafficking operations.
And
the
drugs,
only
too.
question is, how many more are operating right now? Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, you know how many of these like places they have like Bravos and just running out of hotels and all these operations that are all over the place, all over the country, every day, 7 days a week. People are being exploited, and it's happening, and this was happening, and nothing was being done, and these women were just being used and abused, and you literally taken to the cleaners. Wow, that's horrible. All right, guys, it's that time of night again to say goodbye because I am tired and I know you guys are tired too. So, with that said, have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch you all on the flip side. I'll be back on here tomorrow. Same time, same place. We're expecting snow, rain, snow, sleet, ice. Ugh, it's just weather just not good for me right now. I don't like this slushy stuff. It has to be straight up snow for me to feel better. It's just this rain and snow mix doesn't help at all. But with that said, have a good night and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.